All right, let's see. Okay, is the audio good, guys? Let me know if the audio is good or if you guys can hear me. Anything? Good. Awesome. Oh, man. I'll wait a few more minutes and have a few more of you guys get in here, and I gotta respond to a couple messages the guys sent me here. All right. Well, so what day is today? Sunday, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. So we finished corn. Kind of feels like, I don't know, a week ago, but really it was just a couple days ago. We finished corn on, why am I like looking back on this? It was yesterday. We ended up finishing Stark County up and then finishing up the muck field. So we did end up running out of starter, and I will have that video out. Today is Sunday, so probably Thursday. I'll have the last planting video out for you guys. We ended up just taking some 28 that we have in one of our tanks over in the cold storage shed. We have two. What size are those? Dad thought they were only about 10,000 gallons, but before, a couple of years ago, when I was asking Dad about the size of those, he swore that those were 15,000. And the neighbor swears that those are 15,000 because when we bought those tanks with a neighbor. Well, not with a neighbor, but us and a neighbor bought some of those tanks. And those tanks came out of Valpo. I think they came out of Valpo, out of some plant. And they were diesel fuel tanks. And the neighbor swears that they're 15,000 gallon at least. And we booked some 28. Actually, it was kind of funny. One of the people from Co-Alliance was watching my videos from last fall when I was talking about booking 28 and about, that we should be looking at booking 28 when the price is lower and stuff. And they actually got with us, I think in January. Late November. So literally like right after I must have like posted about it, like a few weeks later, they got with us and said, hey, we were watching, Keith's video and saying, that you guys might be interested in doing some 28. And Dad's kind of like, yeah, but that was kind of like just a side thought. And we ended up just following through with it because it was actually a pretty good price at the time. Now, originally we were going to use the 28 with the 1034.0 and top dressing the wheat and using it for pivot applications. And then we ended up booking all the anhydrous because I think price on the anhydrous was, to be honest, I can't remember what we ended up booking anhydrous at the time because at this point it doesn't even matter because we're running 28 now. But I believe it was somewhere around 500. And at the time it was like, man, that's a pretty good price. That's way better than last year. And we ended up we're meeting with our soil guy, and I think it was actually pretty late this year. Normally we don't meet with them that late. Normally it's around, it seems like it gets later every year. It seems like, I don't know, we're always around that December 27th, December 31st. date that we're meeting with them. Well, not never on the 31st, but kind of right after Christmas, somewhere in there, we're meeting with our soil guys over in Illinois. And we ended up changing our whole starter program, not totally changing it, but just what product we're using. Instead of 1034.0 and 28, we use 22703S this year. The reason why is because we actually took sulfur out of the starter back, would have been about 7 years ago, I think, due to some issues that we were having that we figured out and decided to completely take the sulfur completely out of the row, and or at least out of the starter, I should say, not out of the row. And we ended up thinking that we should be putting some sulfur back in the starter now. Because now we're splitting it, because we're running 2x2x2 or they're Yetter dual injectors. So by figuring that we're putting a half rate essentially on either side by Ying it, we figured that shouldn't be too big of an issue at running 20 gallon to the acre. So it's basically same as before. We're running the 22703S at 20 gallon to the acre, just like what we ran the 1034.0 and 28 mix. So basically no different, just a different product. So a little bit easier. Basically, we just go over to Co-Alliance, and actually that facility is really nice. I mean, and plus with having ours set up the way it is, we have a little bit better of a way to gauge what we're getting. And plus everything is done through a flow meter over there, or a mass flow meter over there. So basically you pull in and tell them I need 2,800 gallon and I want to split that between the two tanks. So basically for us, since it's a product by product blend, so basically I would have to figure out, okay, how much do I want in the front tank and how much do I want in the back tank? Because our tanks on our tender only hold 2,800 gallon each, and we've got two of them. And then the cone bottom tank in the center, if you guys watch the videos at all, there's a 1,550 gallon cone bottom tank that we use just for in-furrow. So we might end up, I don't know, using some or putting some other product in there for side dressing if we need to. But I think there's going to be, I think, about 100 gallon left, just because we had that figured. We actually got some extra in-furrow because we thought we were going to end up terminating that wheat over down on Grandma's, but I don't know. We left it. We ended up leaving it because it actually started to look better, but I don't know. Now that we had that freeze, I have no idea. I mean, I guess there's this wheat guru. What's his name? It's Brown. Actually, the same one that Brian from Brian's farming videos had in his one video, I think last year. I can't think of his first name. I know his last name's Brown. Phil Brown, I think it is. He's a wheat guru in the area, and we don't really follow his recommendations. We kind of just go off and do our own thing. The neighbor that actually does our spraying follows his recommendations, I think, but we actually don't, because we don't. We pretty much do all that through our soil guy, what we need to do. And we pretty much kind of know somewhat what we need to be doing on the wheat. And actually, I don't know, they were wanting to put 28 on before that whole week of free, when the temperatures dropped down into like the 40s for the whole week. And we're like, heck no, we're not going to put 28 on the wheat and have it green up and then end up getting froze. And well, I don't know. I mean, it's at this point, since we dropped down into, I don't know, it was like 25, 26 Friday night, I think it was Friday night. It's hard to tell what's going to happen to the wheat. I guess he's going to be out. Brown is, I think the neighbor said this week, and we're probably just going to have him swing past our wheat and just kind of see, what kind of damage could be out there, because I guess there is a way that you can possibly tell what kind of damage the frost could have done to the wheat. It's hard to tell, though. I mean, the rye, I was concerned mostly about the rye because I'm more like, put it this way, I'm more excited about having the rye out than having the wheat out because I'm not at this point too big of a fan after all the issues we've been having the past couple of years. Even though we can raise good wheat, it's just the fact that wheat isn't as hardy, I guess, to the cold temps as what rye is this time of year. And I guess I talked to a few guys online, actually on Facebook, and some cover crop groups talking about wheat, and they said that and rye. That rye can withstand colder temps up to, I believe, 9 degrees this time of year and not go into dormancy or have any yield loss issues versus having wheat. If it drops down around those 20-degree temps, then you're going to have issues as far as, yield loss and stuff like that. So it's hard to tell. It depends on what stage the wheat was in when the wheat or when we had that freeze. So, but how do you like Pioneer 1197? And if you found a strip till subsoil like AMC or under on 12 row, would you put the 8530 on it with the planter? So P1197, a lot of guys are giving that a bad rap now, apparently, because it's an old hybrid. Honestly, I mean, just because it's I believe this would be going on year 7, and 825 and 506 and 977. Now I'm just talking about hybrids in our area. Now, obviously, if you guys plant Pioneer and you're hearing numbers that you've probably never even heard of, it's probably because you are in a different sales region as far as Pioneer goes, and probably, are in a different maturity range than what we are. But we plant anywhere from 100-day to some even 99, 98-day corn. We don't plant any of it ourselves, but we go from anywhere from 98-day corn up to 115-day. I mean, we don't plant any 115-day ourselves. I mean, our agronomist was actually recommending some 115-day corn. I believe it was, I can't even remember the number offhand, 1565 it might have been. He says it dries down to about 113-day, 112-day, but we really don't get any higher than 112-day personally. I wouldn't mind trying some 113-day. There's a hot number out that seems to be kicking 1197's butt in our plot every single year. I think it was 1366, I want to say. Some of you guys probably have heard of that one too, but 1197, I love it. I mean, it seems to produce consistent ears, like photocopy ears, and that's the key right there, is being able to produce a photocopy ear every single from every single plant all the way across the field. I mean, that alone is impressive. 825, we always joke that that's like the baseball bat ears because of how long the ears are, but I don't know. 1077, we've got, I think, 300 acres out on that. 200 to 300 acres out on that. We got quite a bit of 1077 out. That's actually supposed to be replacing 1197. 1185 is supposed to be replacing 1197, and 1213 is supposed to be replacing 1197. So there's going to be a wide variety of varieties to replace 1197, really. 1077 is, we've got quite a bit of that under no irrigation. That's actually supposed to have a boatload of drought tolerance compared to what 1197 had, because obviously, 1197 had virtually zero drought tolerance, and you want to keep that on your higher productive and irrigated soils. So 1185, they're recommending, I guess, irrigation. 1213 on your higher productive. So basically, it's just a wider variety of 1197 options, really. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it. We've got 100 and some acres out on 11, just because we were really impressed with the 1077. We screwed up this year. I wasn't helping Dad plant the corn plot. I was actually, which I will talk about later about the Wasp GoPro, but I was actually planting or drilling beans over on Hefner's, just finishing up and actually close to needing beans, and Dad had to come pick me up and we went and got some beans to finish it while he was planting the corn plot. So I was drilling those beans over there. He called me up and said, how much do you have done? And I think I said, oh, I had about 10, 12 acres left over there. And so him and Grandpa went ahead and did the plot, and Grandpa ended up picking up the bags. And there was a bag of 31A22s just off to the side over there. And that was just because it was a different lot number, and we try and keep the lot numbers separate. That way, we don't have issues on when we deliver seed. We got to keep track of which lot number of seed that we're actually delivering. So if there's 3 different lot numbers of one variety, we got to make sure, okay, which lot number are we pulling from? That way, when it comes time to return seed, we return the right lot number and stuff like that. It's all inventory and categorizing, stuff like that. So for inventory for Pioneer and such. So we had that one bag essentially that came from, I don't know, USPS or UPS or FedEx, I think, because we get some bags through FedEx and stuff. But we had that one bag sitting on top of 2 plot bags because I had the plot seed all laid out how we needed to do it. And Amanda had it all labeled because I had Amanda go through and mark it all. Amanda's my sister, by the way. You've seen her in probably, I don't know, she was in the couple videos ago, I believe. She's in the videos every once in a while. But anyways, Grandpa did not see those last 2 plot bags, and we don't have, what is it? 12, what is it? We don't have 1185 and 1213 in the plot. The 2 varieties I was really actually wanting to see. But the funny thing is, on that though, when we got all the 1213 for the 40 on the corner down there, because we thought we were going to terminate that wheat, and we're like, hey, let's get some 1213 because supposedly there's quite a few plot bags around. So we ended up getting 24 plot bags, like I showed in that one video, and we ended up keeping it. So then we're like, well, what do we do with all this 1213? And Dad's like, well, what if we do a split planter? So we were going to do 1077 up against 1213. So it's going to be a split planter, basically half and half on. We couldn't do a split planter because with a 16 row, 8 rows and 8 rows, 12 row head, it just wouldn't work out. So there's a drawback on having a 16 row planter with a 12 row head. So I know some of you guys are, brought that up last year when we first got the head, saying, you're going to have issues with that. Well, yeah, with plots like that, yeah, you're going to have issues with an 8 row head or 16 row head. You wouldn't have issues, but obviously we're never going to have I can't say never, but a 16 row head just sounds really insane. Just going through last year with a 12 row head that's a lot of corn coming in. But anyways, we ended up doing on Dan's, our field clear over on our farthest field in Stark County, 80 acres over there. We did half the field 1213 and half the field 1077, and that will be irrigated. And that's, I don't know, going to get 2 applications at least, maybe 3 under the for fertigating. I don't know. I mean, it really all depends on what the markets look like and how good the corn's looking. I mean, if the corn's looking really good, maybe we'll end up putting a 3rd one on just to push it along some more, but I don't know. So, but as far as a strip till subsoil unit goes, we tried strip tilling. I talked about that, I don't know, in the past couple of live streams, and it just doesn't really work out for us in our sandy soil. We cannot put nutrients on up front like that and plant over those strips and have a guarantee that those nutrients are still there, basically because of how sandy our soil is. Our soil is essentially sand dune soil. We call it blow sand. Most of our soil is. We do have the river over there would probably be a decent field or a decent farm to do strip tilling on, but if you're going to do strip tilling, you're going to do it across all your acres. You really don't want to have to do it on just one farm and, you could, but it's just a lot easier to kind of blanket everything across your acres and do variable rate applications and stuff like that. But it's just harder to have a niche item like that or a strip till bar, which we ended up sitting on for about 6 years, until I finally got that advertised enough and got it finally sold. basically like the 9400T. That was a real kick in the balls to try and sell too. But I don't think I'd ever go back to strip tilling. I mean, we did, we tried putting anhydrous on pre-plant and planting over the strips and doing basically our whole starter program and info. Were we running info then? Yeah, we were running info then. But yeah, basically planting over those same strips and doing starter and info program with the planter. And then Dad got the idea because the whole, our first auto steer kit came about when we first bought the strip till bar. Because the guy that Dad and Grandpa bought the strip till bar from, he was advertising an auto steer kit with a whole bunch of 3000 globes, and he ended up getting all those sold before Dad could grab one. So we ended up buying the auto steer kit from our dealer. So that was when we first got the 2600 display and the ATU unit, which we used the ATU unit and the 2600 display and the 9650 and the 4650. And we ended up getting a StripCat strip till 16 row bar and a Hawkins tool bar on a Elk Creek Caddy. So we ended up getting a 9400T because we did try pulling it with the 4650 the one year, and that didn't work out too good. We managed, but we definitely needed a lot more horsepower to pull that. So then we ended up getting the 9400T, and that's basically why we got that tractor. And I think 2006 or 7 was when we bought the stainless steel tanker. It was sold to us as stainless steel, but it was aluminum. So aluminum and phosphate, for those of you that really don't know, aluminum and phosphate don't get along. So that's where all the corrosion happened with a tanker. Not using the tanker this year, and that's why we built a new setup. But so back to the strip till. For anhydrous, we did pre-plant, or tried pre-plant. We've been side dressing anhydrous for I don't know how long, basically forever. We tried that for a couple of years, didn't see any results, actually didn't really see any benefit whatsoever. Ended up, Dad, he's like, well, what if we banned all of our starter, and that would basically alleviate a lot more stops on fill up for fertilizer, banned all of our starter and just plant right through and just fill up with seed then and then have in furrow. Tried that, didn't see any benefit there. So we ended up just going back to what we ran before and side dressing all of our anhydrous, and basically ended up sitting on that strip till bar for 6 or 7 years. Now, we never dry banded. I know a lot of guys dry band. That would have been something we probably would have ended up seeing a benefit from, was dry banding all of our dry instead of just having it broadcasted by our custom applicator. But there again comes about a whole slew of equipment that you're going to have to buy, and also have the capabilities of storage or handling all that dry product. So that would have been a whole, I mean, eventually I would like to be able to do our own spreading, lime, gypsum, NP and K and all that, DAP, MAP, it's ammonium. Well, we might end up going away from ammonium. We might end up going away from that. I don't know. That'll be for a different video, but as far as a strip till bar goes, basically to bring it all in, I don't think so. I highly doubt we would ever go back. And then for subsoiling, no. For us, we do not see any benefit to subsoiling at all. So have you guys thought about upgrading maybe the 4650 or the sprayer? The sprayer. Oh, geez, the sprayer. Yeah, that was actually going to happen this year for 2020, but but then we decided it's like, well, let's upgrade the Draper. Well, yeah, we were literally this close. The Draper, I can say it's sold to our neighbor, but we never did anything because we flat out told him, it's like, we're going to put the holds on this because we don't know. And that was when corn price was at 375. It dropped 10 cents, and we're like, what's this Corona going to do? And then, I don't know, a dollar later, literally a dollar later, you're like, well, we're not going to do it. And then on top of that, well, I probably shouldn't even mention that. I'm not even going to mention that, but yeah. So the Draper head is sold, not really sold. I mean, if corn price would ever come back, yeah, we'll go to a 40-foot. Yeah, we were actually going to go to an FD 140, but I don't know. I was actually trying to find a head cart too, because we were selling that as a package deal and getting rid of our 36-foot or 36-foot Unvenfirth head cart. I don't know. I think it's a 536, I think, Roadrunner. And going to a 40-foot or 42-foot head cart, I should say, 42, 43, I think. So I was working on trying to find one of those, and found a few, but we would have to end up buying them new. There was really no used 40-foot head carts out there. You can find some 45 or 47s, 48s, I don't know, for the 45-foot heads, but we're not going to go to a 45-foot head just because, it may sound stupid to some of you, but we really don't want to mess with the auger at this time. Now, granted, if we do end up going to a 40-foot head here, which I doubt this year unless something majorly, drastically changes with this grain market, who knows? I mean, anything could happen. That will change the boot on that auger. You guys have been hounding me about that too, about why don't we change the boot? Just haven't taken the time to do it, and really don't see, or really not in a rush to change it. I mean, yeah, I've talked to some John Deere engineers about that, some that I'm friends with, and basically I understand their whole theory on that. And yeah, I agree, but it's just, I don't know. I think the boot's like $90. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up changing it this year, even if we don't go to a 40-foot head. But personally, I liked it when we were running that 2016 S680 last year on demo, because our Deere deal to try out a John Deere draper, which the John Deere draper, there was nothing wrong with it, except that we just saw that there was more wear items on there than what the McDon had. So basically we just saw it as the McDon's still a lot easier to maintain and has less maintenance. So yeah, the John Deere head's more compatible than McDon's. So, but our theory is it's going to have more maintenance. So yeah. So that's why we are sticking with the McDon. And plus, we just really like the McDon. The McDon's a really nice head, but the John Deere is too. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. It has a lot more visibility, I should say, on the belt, which really isn't necessary in my opinion. Belt visibility on a head, but I don't know. Did y'all get done with corn today? We ended up I'm like clear at the top of the comments here, guys, so I'm trying to catch up. Did y'all get done with corn today? Yesterday. Oh, cool. Thanks, Penland. To be honest, I haven't checked the gauge yet, but it's around 3/4 today. What we ended up getting. Yeah, Braden, I'll keep you posted on that because I know it's kind of late in the season to be trying to get you guys seed, but yeah, I'll stick with you on that, and next year we'll have to work with you guys. So I'll send you an invite actually to our plot day. I'll email you and send you that when we get close to that, and maybe you guys can come up and do that. Will you harvest a rye for seed? We have 47. I've got 20 acres. and the farm's got 27. Technically, this was a last minute thing. I ended up renting 20 acres from the farm, essentially, or from Grandpa. That's his. And so technically, I have 20 acres that I'm renting. It was figured for corn, and that was before this whole grain market situation with Corona happened. And I knew this ground very, just from over the years that we farmed it. I knew that if corn out there, I would be looking at 130 to 140 bushel at best, maybe 170 if I'm really lucky, and that's a 1 in 10 year chance. But average it'd be around 100, and I'm like, we've got, and this is after that was actually the field that we had rye on last year, and that I drilled rye into in August and drilled beans into in August also, and the beans froze off in the fall. But the rye crop looked really good coming into the spring, and our soil guys were kind of nervous on us keeping the rye because of more increased in diseases and stuff like that. And I ended up deciding to keep it, and it actually looks really good. I mean, the stand doesn't look too bad, but it's better than having corn out there, I figure. And plus, I can't say we have a guy lined up for it all, for my 20 acres at least for seed, but there's a very, very good possibility he's going to end up needing all of the rye seed from my field. So we've got that going. So there's 47 acres total. As far as how many acres we're going to end up putting out, I think this year we had around 800 and some acres out cover crop. We'll probably have about the same for next year. We're probably going to end up putting, probably 32 acres at least under irrigation next year, just based on rotation, because after tomatoes over there in Shins, I imagine we'll end up putting, we better be putting rye out there, put it that way, instead of wheat, because that was actually the plan for last year on the 40 on the corner, for putting rye out there instead of wheat and having high yield rye out there for seeds. So, but we'll see. Who knows what we'll end up doing, but I actually watched that, James. The video, I literally watched that a couple hours ago about the Pro boxes needing to be redesigned. You probably, if you guys watched my one video on me using some side cuts to pick the stones out from underneath the boxes, I honestly don't understand why Pro boxes are designed with the holes in the bottom of them like that. I mean, it just seems kind of dumb, in my opinion, to have that. And then I don't know. They definitely need to be redesigned on the bottom skid of it, I should say. I mean, in regards, though, the whole box is a nice box. I mean, we've got 20 of them for rye storage, but yeah. We do, majority of our ground is no-till. You know, you guys can argue on that because of running the vertical till and then having tomatoes rotated in with some tillage in there to kind of clean up the ridges that they cause from the tomatoes. So pretty much we are no-till. You guys can argue that any way you want, but in my opinion, we are no-till, minimal till with the vertical till. But yeah. We did 10 acre. We should be done planting tomorrow. Awesome. You guys will be done planting tomorrow. We actually, we still have 150 acres of beans yet over at the river. And that's essentially one long day of drilling or two decent days of drilling. There's a 69 acre field over there, the middle field, and then the church field's about 85 acres. So 1185. Basically, they recommend I believe, under your higher management, under irrigation fields, basically your higher productive fields or your irrigated fields, your higher productive irrigated fields or higher productive soils, either or. So 1082, no, that is actually one I've never heard of. But yeah, 1185, basically 1185, 1077, and 1213 are all three going to end up replacing 1197. And 806 is going to end up replacing 825. 935 is going to end up replacing 977. I wasn't too big of a fan of 977. We had that over on Marx's last year, and I wasn't very impressed with it. Dad wasn't very impressed with it at all. It yielded better in the plot over 825, I think, by like 2 bushels. And that's all through our weigh wagon. So we're not just doing that through the combine. We weigh it all because we technically, in order to submit plot data, we have to weigh it all to submit it to Pioneer. So that's basically as exact as what we're going to get on yield comparisons there for the plot. But 977 yielded 2 bushels better than 825, so we ended up putting 977 out there, and it did not have a very good drought tolerance last year when we ended up going through that dry spell. So my grandma said she knows your grandpa because he bought tractors from our dealer in Knox. That would have been probably back in the 70s, I would say, when we bought the 4430. That probably would have been when we traded in the 4020 for the 4430 that came out of La Crosse. And I think that tractor only had, from what I've understood from Dad, that tractor had less than 1,000 hours on it, and the engine blew up in it because of a situation with the guy running it on an auger, and I can't remember the full story on that. That'll have to be a live stream story, sit down video, farm history video type thing with Dad and Grandpa on that. But basically, that tractor was used with a new engine, and I believe, when did we buy that? That would have been 76, 77, I think. I can't remember. What else did we buy down there? We bought that. I can't even remember. That'll have to be a whole video on that, man. Does keeping your water tanks in a van trailer help keep the algae out of them? Definitely. Those tanks, if I did not say it in the video, those 2 tanks that are identical in size, the one that's in the back and the one that's in the middle, that's actually sinking into the trailer. Well, it's not anymore because we drained it, and we're going to end up cleaning that tote and those 2 tanks. Well, actually, I have the 2 tanks out. If you guys watched the one video, we're looking today about getting the other one out and sliding that one forward. Those 2 tanks in the front or in the back and the center there, those are from the 70s, back from, we got those, I think Dad and Grandpa got those from Chester's, or what used to be called Chester's over there in Valpo. Basically now the old Co-Alliance plant. I'm not sure what the plan is for that plant right now, since they moved everything to Malden, or the majority of everything to Malden. I don't know if they're still operating out of there or what. But then the front tank, Dad doesn't really know where the front tank came from, but those tanks are 40 years old. 40. So basically the neighbors are all like beside themselves that know that we have those tanks, are beside themselves that we've had them that long and have kept them that long, and that they're in the condition that they are, being how old they are. But yeah, we've had 0 issues with the algae in them, with them being stored inside. That's why I want to go to a van trailer setup for our spray tender, because some of you guys said, well, why not go to a drop deck? Well, that just goes into a whole another can of worms of showing, basically when we go to a newer setup, with a different sprayer. That setup's going to be mobile, unlike this one. Now, granted, that one was mobile. That one was a mobile setup at one time till we flat out said, I mean, we were farming a farm over in Stark County. That was before we ended up getting Mary Lou's and Dan's. It was a 300-acre farm, and the one field was about 200 acres. We ended up taking the van trailer over there just because it's a heck of a lot easier instead of going back and forth. So we ended up having that set up somewhat mobile then until this year when we found out we had issues with the van trailer. But that setup primarily stays here at the farm, so we don't really keep that on, make that a mobile setup, even though it very well could been or was, By having a drop deck, it exposes all your, not to say it's a bad thing having your chemicals exposed, but basically there could be instances where people don't agree with what you're applying to the field. So it's just better to have everything closed, like enclosed, and basically say we take it over to a field and we leave it over and it's in a van trailer, it's all closed up, nobody can essentially driving by seeing anything that's in the van trailer, whereas with the drop deck everything's setting out. They're again also getting rained on if it rains overnight. I mean, there's just all those different scenarios. You don't need to have people seeing everything that you have sitting on your drop deck versus having a van trailer. Everything's all enclosed and stuff like that. But so that's basically why I would want a van trailer set up. Also, there again too, to reduce algae issues. So, same thing with the fertilizer tender. Not to say that a drop deck would have been nice. Drop deck would have been nice, but or a tanker. By God, a tanker would have been nice. But the problem is, again, I talked about that in a previous video about the compartments and stuff like that, being able to only hold one product unless you find a tanker with a couple compartments. But it's just so much. I love our setup, basically how it is. I mean, it's you're able to see or gauge better on how much product you have. Before this facility was built in Malden, basically when we went to Chester's in Valpo there, or Co-Alliance, we call it Chester's. But before, when we were getting loads with the tanker, basically it was all on a weight. So basically you had to gauge on how much product you had basically based on a weight, and there was no mass flow sensor over there to basically say, okay, this is how much product in gallons that you have. And so when you're pumping off, you're kind of like, well, how much is in there? Well, it's about half full. So there's about 3,200 gallon because it's about a 6,400 gallon tanker. So it's kind of like, well, with this setup, you're able to kind of gauge a heck of a lot better on how much you have. Now, we do need to put sight gauges on the tanks. I brought that up when we bought the tanks, why we didn't get the sight gauge kit. And Dad's like, we don't need sight gauges. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I'm tired of climbing into the very back side of that in-furrow tank to figure out how much is in the back one and constantly getting the ladder out, which isn't a big deal, to climb up in the tank and kind of looking down and see, which the problem is on those tanks, on the transport tanks, you can't see on the sides, like basically the liquid through the sides of the tank. The tanks are so thick you can't even see them. Now, the in-furrow tank, you can see it. You can see the liquid level throughout the full height of the tank. But on those transport tanks, the walls are so thick on those tanks, you can't even see the liquid inside of it. So it's like, well, we need to get sight gauges for both of those tanks and figure out how to install those. And I'll probably have to end up crawling inside the tank to do that if I can even fit through a 16-inch diameter. I don't even know. But if you didn't irrigate, how often would you struggle with a drought? I would say just about every year. I mean, it's hard to tell, Cody. I don't know. I mean, in our sands, we're always 2 days away from a drought, put it that way, in our sands. So it's hard to tell. So I would say just about every year. We do have some clay. We actually have some quite a bit of clay over there on the river farm, and that was one of the last fields Dad thought we'd ever no-till, and we've no-tilled that since the '80s, and have never ever worked the ground with that except with the vertical till. So you guys can argue that we're not no-till with the vertical till, however you guys want to argue with that, because basically the only thing we are doing with the vertical till is sizing the residue. We are trying to not disturb the soil. We just want to size the residue with that vertical till because that is what they are designed for. Sizing and minimally disturbing the soil. If you're going to run it like a disc, sock that thing in the ground as deep as it can go, set that gang angle as aggressive as what it can go. Go get the disc out of the corner of the shed. You'll feel a lot better and get the job done that you want done. Just saying. I mean, if you're going to go out there, do that, and then turn around and bash the vertical till because it's not doing what you want it to do, then why don't you go get a disc and you're going to be a lot happier because that's what you're trying to do, is replicating what a disc is going to do. It frustrates me to no end when guys go on and start talking about a vertical till and think they know by socking it in that deep and doing that. It's like, guys, that's not what they're designed to do. Yeah, you can run it like a disc if you want to run it like a disc, but if you're trying to run it like a disc but get vertical tillage results, you're not going to have the outcome that you want. So, okay. Keith, why do you not put your tractor on the corn planter? Well, it's technically not my tractor, even though everybody jokes that it is. Dad's only done about 70, 75 acres with it with the vertical till. Reason why is basically because of that there. He's not had enough seat time and just hasn't really taken the time to get more seat time with it. He does really like the IVT though. Just everything on the 4650 works great, and he loves that setup, and he's basically got that all dialed down to a T. So why change anything if it works great? Then you guys are going to argue, why don't we have the 4630 on the drill? Well, that I can't really say Grandpa's retired, but for the most part, he pretty much is. And basically, when that happened, the 4630 basically retired. And both of them really like to mow. So Grandpa likes to mow, and the 4630 really likes to mow too with the bat wing. So the 4630 does spread some dry fertilizer basically before the wheat and rye. So it does get some action there. And on our little 12-foot disc, we actually did do some 70s style farming with a 12-foot disc on and also had the 4430 on the 4-row last year on a little wet spot over on Marx's that we couldn't get on because there was that's basically that field north at 1250. If you guys remember me talking about that in the one video about it being a real sandy, primarily clay sandy soil, there's a little wet spot that we can't seem to alleviate or get rid of in the one corner of the field just because of how clayey that soil is and how tight that ground is, that we had to end up leaving and going back in and replanting that little spot with the 4 rows. So are you guys getting any snow right now? As far as I know, not yet. I know they were talking snow a few days ago, but so SC Young Farmer, I know this is kind of way back on the top of the comments here on the herbicide thing. Are you talking pre-emerge or are you talking post-emerge? Because I've got a few different opinions on that, on a pre-emerge versus a pre-emerge herbicide, or if you're talking post-emerge, I've got some opinions on that too. So let me know what you're talking about on that too. In the 4650 on the planter, we run a Gen 1 2020 precision planting monitor. We got that back in 2011 or 13. We didn't think, Dad didn't think nothing of it. He's just kind of like, we don't need a 2020 monitor. And our precision planting dealer at the time, he's no longer a dealer for them now. He ended up becoming a 360 dealer along with his precision dealership. And then he ended up getting a channel dealership. And after a year or so of doing that, he ended up getting rid of the channel dealership. And then ended up going to getting rid of the precision and 360 dealership and ended up going completely with Conklin AgriVantage and NutriDrip. So he's a Conklin and NutriDrip dealer. He said, trust the monitor. Dad's like, okay, whatever. So it was reading about 96, I think, on the monitor, 96, 97 on singulation. So he thought, well, slow down. Well, then it got worse. And he was running about 4.6, 4.7. So he slowed down to about 4 mile an hour and it got worse. So he's like, well, let's go the other way. Let's go faster. So he ended up kicking it up to about 5 and it got better. So then he took it up to 5.5. And basically we picked up over a point on ground speed and have never really not been impressed with the 2020. So, I mean, basically we love the 2020. I just wish we had a newer 2020 monitor because it just, ours is kind of, it's on I can't really say it's on its last leg, but it's getting there. Kind of like our brown box when I was planting corn, I had, I don't know, it went good for about 30 acres. And then when I switched fields, basically everything just, came apart on that 2020. I can't say physically, just all of a sudden I was not getting any pressure reading on the starter. And I'm like, why all of a sudden am I getting no pressure reading on the 20 or on the brown box for the starter? Because we run ground drive starter pumps on our planter. So everything gets read through the 20 or brown box then for a starter. And I'm like, why am I not getting any pressure on pressure on the starter? So I called Dad and Dad's like, what? I'm like, I don't know. It's beeping at me saying I don't have any pressure. It's I'm like, it's planting just fine. He's like, are the pump? I'm like, yeah, pumps are turning everything. I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. I'm like, I don't know. So he's like, well, unplug it and plug it back in. So I did that. I got out and unplugged it from the planter and plugged it back in. And I'm like, okay, it's working just fine now. I literally went 100 feet and the monitor went blank. Flat out, brown box just went blank. And I'm like, holy cow, the auto steer quit. I'm like, holy cow. So I stop and I call Dad. I'm like, what's the problem with this thing? He's like, well, I've had issues with it before. I'm like, did it ever go blank? Like flat out just quit. I'm like, whoa, holy cow, lost the monitor. So he's like, well, did you try rebooting it? I'm like, hold on. Right before I rebooted it, the whole thing just came back on. I'm like, what in the world's wrong with this thing? So, and the funny thing is, our AMS guy's been hounding us to no end about switching to, or basically shuttling everything from the brown box into our 2630. And I told him, because he's like, well, it costs about $3,000 to convert the computer on the planter. I'm like, no, we're not going to spend $3,000 just to convert it so everything could be read through the 2630. Well, now he's telling me it can be done for like, I don't know, 50 or $100 or something like that with some different wiring harnesses and stuff, which, we can add to the pile that's already in the 4650. But I don't know. We might end up looking into that. Who knows? But that all depends. That brown box is as old as the planter. So I don't know. It's to be honest, guys, Dad doesn't know, Grandpa doesn't know, and I don't know. Without running the serial number, maybe I'll have our dealer run the serial number, basically text it to our salesman I don't know, write down the serial number, take a picture of it, whatever. When hopefully we go see him this week to go sign the papers on my new purchase with him, but who knows? And that way we can find out the year. We know it's a 90s, probably 95, 96, so... Thanks for using gloves when handling chemicals. I always religiously do it. Dad does it too. It's nothing just because I'm doing videos with it. just to make you guys feel comfortable that I'm using gloves. It's flat out because I feel a lot better using gloves, even when I'm not filming, and showing you guys what we do. That's just something we religiously do. So it's nothing, Now, granted, if I accidentally don't use gloves with the fertilizer, oh no, I mean, I've got fertilizer on my hands. There's a little water tank in there. I'll clean my hands but as far as like handling Roundup and 2,4-D and stuff like that, oh no, I'll get cancer. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, I'll wear gloves. I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, I've gotten Roundup on me. Don't worry, guys. I haven't gotten cancer yet. So, geez, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, we wear gloves. It's the right thing to do. So, 150 acres of beans left, so 2 fields over at the river. Get a 50-foot honeybee draper. That's what everybody thought we were going to get. I'm like, no way. No way. So what happens to leftover seed? That is a very good question. Nobody's actually really ever asked me on that, and I figured eventually here, later this year, I was actually going to do videos on the return process on this. So basically, everything that is untreated beans, all the corn gets returned. Basically, it doesn't matter what treatment's that's on it. It all gets returned, corn-wise. Beans, if you have treated beans, you as a rep have to sit on those treated beans if they are not sold or if they get returned. So say, Joe Blow buys 25 bags of beans treated, ends up returning 2 bags because he ends up only needing 23 instead of 25. We have to sit on those 2 bags of treated beans. No big deal, because basically we'll, end up getting rid of them one way or the other. Basically either, like what we did last year, drilling them on those 20 acres as a cover crop. And that was over accumulation of, I think, 3 or 4 years of just treated beans, of just having extra. So we'll get rid of them one way or the other, basically planting them, not, for a crop, but just, cover crop or something like that. So, but untreated, all the untreated stuff gets sent back. So, but yeah, but yeah, that's basically how that all gets done. I'll have a couple of videos on that because basically we've got pro boxes that need to get returned, because I know a few of you guys were asking me, hey, what do you do with the pro boxes? Well, all of those get returned, but basically we got to allocate all the untreated and treated ones and make sure that all of them get returned, and then same with the pallets. So that's why we set all those off to the side over by the bins over there, and organize all that. So, but yeah, I'll have some videos on returning and stuff like that. So. Are you sure we closed it in 67? What was the name of the dealership, Braxton? Because to be honest, it would have been our first, put it this way, our first equipment that Grandpa bought from would have been the Wanata dealership, which I can't even think of the Wanata dealership's name. If Dad or Grandpa were sitting here, they would know. And that was when we bought the 40/20 and stuff like that. So. Matt Zimmerman. I've heard the name. I've heard of Zimmerman's before. Hey, Crown Point, not too far. About 45 minutes away. And I've drove to Crown Point since 2008. Well, not me driving, but for the past few years, I've drove over to Crown Point. My mom actually lived there in Crown Point because my parents got divorced back in 08, 07, 08. I can't remember for sure. 08, I don't know. It doesn't really matter at this point. But she lived in Crown Point, and actually up until last year, she lives in Cedar Lake now. So, But yeah, I'm all too familiar with driving 8 to 231 and going to Crown Point. So there's a field that we have in Stark County that's called Dan's, and then we have one that's called Mary Lou's. The one that I don't know has the monster sand dune on it that we farmed for 1 year, and I told Dad, and Dad totally agreed with me that why in the world are we farming a literal sand dune? And he's like, yeah, we'll end up putting that in CRP. So we ended up getting that in CRP. So, but I don't know. The guy ended up going out there and seeding this whole mix of flowers and everything out there, and it did not come up because I don't know. He did it in November. And I'm like, that's not going to come up. And even Dad goes like, what in the world is this guy doing? And I think he's from like the DNR or whatever, or NRCS or something. We're like, what in the world? And I don't know. I think we might end up just throwing some grass seed out there to suppress the weeds out there because I don't know if you guys watched my one video of us mowing it off because it was literally like nothing but pure mare's tail. And we're like, really? We do not want to have a huge mare's tail issue out here. We got to get this stuff gotten rid of. So, but technically, we're not supposed to be mowing that. So we won't be mowing that from this point forward. So it's just the fact that we had a huge amount of weeds out there because what they ended up putting out there literally did not come up. And we're like, well, we got to get rid of it somehow. So, or the weeds that were out there because we can't spray it. So, oh, so post emerge. Basically, all of our beans that we do are dicamba beans. So we use Corteva product Fexapan. So basically, all of our, yeah, like I said, all of our beans are dicamba. We would go and list if there's some Peking beans in there because we need the cyst nematode protection with the Peking trait. So if there's some Peking traits or Peking beans in the Enlist series, we would go the Enlist series route. But until there's some Peking beans in there, then we're not going to go the Enlist route, which I think the first couple Peking beans are actually the dogs in there like making all these kinds of noises. The first Peking beans are supposed to come out in 2020. No, the first Peking, there's actually Peking beans out, I should say. But the first Pioneer genetics, because right now they're all Stein genetics, the first Pioneer beans officially are going to be in 20, I don't know, a few years yet. But so basically, until Pioneer has their own genetics in these Enlist beans, then we'll end up going the Enlist route because 2,4-D, I mean, it's just a heck of a lot easier to deal with, and then instead of the dicamba, a lot less drift issues. Supposedly, and we questioned the guy, Dad and I questioned the guy down at Sheridan, down at the plot training day for Enlist, when our sales territory ended up going down and doing a rep training day for Enlist down at Sheridan, Indiana. Supposedly, you can confidently spray 2,4-D and 2,4-D right up against tomatoes if the wind is between 3 and 10 mile an hour and it's blowing away from the tomatoes. That's insane. I mean, if you guys, those of you that don't know about buying a tomato field, I mean, thankfully, we've never, ever had to do that because if you end up spraying next to a field of tomatoes, and obviously we leave a buffer, put it that way, we leave a very generous buffer when spraying next to tomatoes because we do not want to buy a tomato field. Now, what I mean by buying a tomato field is if literally one plant gets damaged out of that whole tomato field, at least one, that field is no longer able to be harvested and has to be destroyed, and essentially you pay for that tomato field. Yeah, you do not want to have to pay for a tomato field. That is insane. I don't know if there's ever been a neighbor around here that's done it. I think, but I don't know. So the story behind us becoming a Pioneer dealer, I'll save that for another video because that's going to be quite a long story on that. And that's going to kind of explain the reason that we don't sell more seed than what we do, because kind of the situation that we're in. So, but it was just basically the time that we got put on as a dealer. I'll just kind of give you a summary. The time that we got put on as a dealer, basically we started with 0 Pioneer customers. All the customers that we had to deal with, or like basically build our business up with, bought 0 Pioneer. Basically, we grew our business from literally nothing to what we are. I mean, it doesn't sound very impressive to what we sell right now, but at one time, I mean, we were selling a fair amount of seed, and that was, I mean, it still is impressive today that we grew the business from literally nothing. Granted, before that, we did sell seed for, I don't know, we got the seed out of Royal Center, Dad. I can't remember what the seed was. See, this is why I want, we're going to end up doing some sit down videos, and that way you guys can understand. And also I can learn more on the back history and some of this stuff and get more of the nitty gritty details that I don't personally know enough on. And that way you guys can learn right alongside me too. So just trying to figure out where I left off on the comments here, guys. Why do you have the 8530 and the 1590 drill not on the planter? So I discussed that earlier, and it's actually a 750 drill. So it's not a 1590. It's actually older than that. It's a 750. It's a 90s drill. So, but basically, brief summary on that. Dad just prefers a 4650 setup and has everything dialed to a T, and plus prefers running the 4650 than the 8530, but he does like the 8530 with the IVT, just he doesn't have enough seat time in it. So I don't know for sure if those tanks came out. I don't think they came out of Chester's, Jim. I don't think so. It was they were diesel tanks, I believe. From my understanding, from what Dad told me, from him and the neighbor from where him and the neighbor got those tanks, I think I believe they were diesel fuel tanks, I believe. But the one we're having issues with, actually, it's empty right now, but it started leaking in the bottom of it, so we ended up having to get everything out of it. So now we got to figure out how to get the one tank out, and basically what Dad and I have come to the conclusion of is we're going to have to get the torch out there and basically torch it out of there. So, yeah, so now we got to figure out what to do with one of those tanks, but that we can talk about that in a different video. So Pioneer, basically, it's all, we don't have to we're not buying the seed. All the seed that we sell, we are not buying. It's all basically, we basically get a demand plan sheet. We demand plan everything that we know that we can sell. Pioneer gets us a seed, and basically we go in season or in the sales season, sell the seed, basically through Pioneer as a dealer, sell the seed, deliver the seed. So basically we are not buying the seed from Pioneer and then in turn selling it again. We are basically just the middleman of, getting the seed from Pioneer to the customer, basically collecting a check and handing it there to Pioneer. So we're just a middleman, basically. 150 acres of beans. Not necessarily, guy. Not necessarily on that. That all gets put right. The reason why they want corn returned as soon as possible. I would imagine tomorrow we're going to end up getting an email saying, "Hey, is there any corn returns?" Which we're done. There's a few neighbors I think are just getting started, so it won't be probably till around towards the end of May that we start doing corn returns. But they want to get the corn back as quickly as possible to get that back into cold storage to protect the germ on that. So basically, say there's 95% germ on corn, cold store, cold germ test on corn. You get that back, and they basically do a test every. I can't remember how often it is. It's pretty often on how often they do a cold germ test on the corn and beans both. Um, but basically, if the germ falls below a certain point, they will not sell it, and they'll basically end up getting rid of it. So not necessarily it does it. Not all of it will go back into a bag. Basically, I can't. Not all of it. I mean, it all just depends on the germ. So if the germ falls below a certain point, that batch will not get rebagged essentially. But as long as the germ is maintained, then it will go back into circulation. So yeah, the dealer in Wanata, they weren't, from what I remember and from what Dad told me, and Grandpa told me, that dealer wasn't around for very long. I know there was a dealer, I believe, in Valpo, I think, right, Jim? I don't know. To be honest, that this is all before my time, guys. So way before my time. So, do you have stock chompers on your combine? So, what they basically are, they are Yetter Devastators. So, basically, they're just a roller with basically a metal bar on the rollers all the way. I think there's like 5 or 6 metal bars on these things, and the original design actually just had some rebar welded onto it, and they basically just rolled with the corn head. And I mean, they work decent. I mean, I was looking at the one field that I drilled that we ran them on, and that was one of the fields that we drilled into or going to plant into, or that I did plant into or drill into, I should say, not plant with the drill. Just straight no-till, no cover crop out there, just straight no-till right into corn stalks with the drill, and which we've done for many years now. And we were actually one of the first ones to actually do that with the drill, and we ended up doing a lot of custom work back in the late. We did it before this with the other drill. In the 80s, we ended up doing a bunch of no-till drilling. But anyways, I was kind of surprised about how much stalks were, or how tall the stalks were that were standing up. That were left standing. And I was very surprised about that the stompers or the devastators didn't do more of a job than what they did. But that could be just because of how wet the corn was last year, because the corn was on average, I think average across the board, our corn was relatively not as wet as what everybody else's was. The wettest corn that we picked last year was 25%. But then I think the driest we ended up picking was 18%. But the corn over there on Hefner's, what was that? That was 18%. So I mean, that wasn't too wet at all by any means. So there again, that's why I don't understand why the stalks were the way they were over there. You can definitely tell with the cover crops though. When you put cover crops out, especially cereal, well, just mainly cereal rye, probably, you'll see it with wheat too. Because we side dress everything, you can actually see where we side dressed or knifed the anhydrous in with the cover crops, where the corn didn't utilize all the nitrogen, and it's actually basically scavenging for that those nutrients, and that you can actually pick up on certain spots of the field, basically on the higher parts of the field, where the corn didn't utilize all the nitrogen. Now, I was very surprised over there on the river farm. The one high part of that field over there had 160 bushel corn on it, which was unheard of on that spot. I mean, mainly we only get 130, 140 on that spot. And we were getting 160, 165 bushel corn, and actually still showed nitrogen spots out there on the cover crops, which was very interesting because at 160 bushel corn, we were surprised. It's like, man, the corn didn't use all the nitrogen out there. Did we put on too much? And I mean, I swear, Dad said he only put out, I think, 130 pounds side dress out there on the top of the field, or out in the side dressing out in the field during the summer there. We put down 50 pounds with the planter of nitrogen with the starters. So who knows? We very well, with that setup with the anhydrous, I mean, you are putting out slightly more than what you have the valve set at. So, I mean, there could have been something where, at 130, 135 pounds, you could have been putting out 140, 145. So, I don't know. But it's just interesting stuff like that you see. So how come y'all went from a Class 6 to a Class 9 combine? So I've discussed this over and over and over again. That was the deal of the lifetime. We bought that combine for $115,000. So let that sink in, I guess. At a dealer's lot, that combine's worth at least $180,000. So plain and simple, I mean, that was a deal of the lifetime right there. 2012 with, I think it was right at 2,000 hours when we bought it. Right now it's at like 2,300. But you guys can argue, oh God, 2,000 or 2,300 hours on a combine, that's insane. Well, we ran our 9650 till 4875 and 3333. So you can argue, what your opinion is on how wore out a combine is. But when we looked at that combine all over, it was clean, and physically and just cosmetically, that thing was clean. And basically, we just had to replace the feeder house chain and the feeder house drum, and it's been a good combine. I mean, yeah, we had that one issue with the, what was it last year? I can't remember, the sensor on the transmission oil. But, you're going to have sensor issues. I mean, my God, I mean, it's a combine covered with sensors, especially. So you're going to have issues like that. So, but yeah, so I mean, for $115,000, you can't argue with that. I mean, that was we were in the right place at the right time, put it that way. So, granted, is a Class 9 combine too much for us? Yeah, but are you going to go to a John Deere dealer and spend $200,000 on a combine versus when you can go to an auction and buy a combine for that price? You tell me. I mean, I'm not jumping down anybody's throat by any means. I'm just saying, making a statement here by saying, basically paying for the exact same combine, at two different price tiers. John Deere's price tier and what reality is. John Deere, reality. John Deere, reality. I'd rather buy reality than John Deere's, fantasy prices here. I'm not spending $600,000 or more for a quad track. $600,000 just gets you the base model. 8RX, $540,000. Really? That's a base model tractor. $540,000. That's insane. Yeah, I don't know. That's insane. That's why our last piece of equipment that we bought new, at least tractor wise, we did buy the Great Plains because we tried out the Great Plains. I think I don't know. I can't say we really demoed it. I don't think it was really a demo deal. It was more of like a lease type thing. We rented it, I think, back in 2011. 2011 or 13, 1 to 2. And then we ended up buying it. So technically it was somewhat new. Basically, I mean, it did have a few acres on it, I believe, before we tried it, a couple hundred, I think. I'm pretty sure we leased that because I believe it was on a lease month deal type thing. But then we ended up buying it because we liked it so much. But I mean, the Draper was 1 year old. It had, I think, 1,200 acres on it for 1 year old. but we got a pretty good package deal on that with the head cart and the draper. We bought that from Glasscock's, um, but yeah, I mean, that was, I think, well, I know for a fact the last tractor that we bought new was a 1983 4650. I mean, that, you know, back then, I mean, that tractor new was 70 or 80 some $1,000. And I guarantee you right now, I mean, our dealers, I literally posted a video this evening on Facebook of the footage that I posted with that one uh, uh, the last video, I can't even think. The last video, that one drone video that I did, montage of planting over at the river there with 4650. Hashtag trade in valuation video. Yeah, I mean, if corn was $4 and you had something priced, I guess, reasonably that I'd be interested in, yeah, I mean, but it's just hard when you want something that they've got that's kind of 25,000 or 30,000, if not even more, over what the market actually is. I hate to say it, but I don't know. That's exactly right, Jason. That's what we say over and over again. Thank God there's bigger farmers than us. That way we can, there's a market for used equipment then. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, why? Basically, I saw a neighbor, 9RX, brand new, brand new 9RX, 24-row planter. I imagine a 24-row planter was new too. Where's the ROI? Explain to me this. Where is the ROI on a brand new? I imagine it was a 620. Wouldn't be surprised with this neighbor. Brand new 9RX, 24-row planter. Like I said, brand new too. At a sub $3 corn market, where's your ROI on that? That is arguably $1 million setup. Explain to me where the ROI is on that setup. Brand new 9RX with, I imagine, a brand new 24-row planter. At a subpar $3 corn market, where's the ROI in a corn planting setup like that? The way I see it, buying equipment for us, our operation, if there's no ROI in that piece of equipment, buying that for us, we're not interested in it. Put it that way. I mean, if you cannot pencil it, apparently my pencil isn't as sharp as his, getting a 9RX and stuff like that. But if you cannot pencil it, why even try? I mean, that's, I don't understand it, I mean, maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know, I don't know. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts? I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm not the only one because, I mean, how do you pencil some of this stuff? I mean, in a subpar, I mean, arguably, you guys are probably, some of you guys are probably going to complain that we bought, or I'm buying, I can't say the farm is, I'm buying a new piece of equipment. It's not a tractor, not a sprayer, not a combine, not a head. You guys can guess all you want. Hopefully it'll be here this week. I'm told any day. Friday, I texted our dealer and he said any day it's supposed to be here. There was some COVID-19 delays with it, by a couple days delay. Just because they had some, employee issue walkout type things because, the essential, non-essential type deal. But anyways, it's supposed to be here any day. And he was going to text the salesman for the piece of equipment that they deal with, because they go through a salesman because it's not John Deere. It's not John Deere equipment. It's sold through John Deere or the John Deere dealership. It is, but it's not a piece of John Deere equipment. So there you guys, it'll narrow that down even more for you guys, what I'm buying. But you guys can argue all about that, saying that, well, you're buying a new piece of equipment, but you're complaining about the, people out there buying brand new equipment and trying to pencil it. Well, the way I see it is But this piece of equipment that I'm buying, I see the return on investment. Put it this way, there better be an ROI there. Otherwise, I'm the one taking the hit. The whole reason I'm buying this is because of the situation of what we're doing and changing things and hopefully in hopes of increasing our ROI. That's why I'm doing it. That is why I'm buying that piece of equipment. Increasing efficiency, same thing. You're increasing your ROI there. You can argue all you want, but if you're burning the same amount of fuel but running a larger head, that's increased efficiency. I mean, plain and simple. And there you go. You're increasing your ROI because you're spending the same amount of money on fuel, but you're covering more acres in a day. That's less wear and tear on equipment. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, but I mean, in my opinion, that's, I mean, you guys probably get annoyed with me. Some of you probably get annoyed with me stressing ROI, but I mean, exactly like what John Becker just said, ROI is the biggest. I mean, arguably you can say that it's the most important thing right now at this time. My opinion, it's important all the time, regardless what the grain price is, regardless if corn's 550, which that would be phenomenal if there was a 550 corn market right now. I hope to God we never see an $8 corn market. Some of you guys are probably like, you're crazy. Well, with an $8 corn market, if you guys remember, when commodity prices went up, input costs went up. When commodity prices fell down, input prices still stayed up. I would pay $3 for diesel right now instead of $1 for diesel and have ethanol. Having an ethanol market right now is huge right now. Over 40% of our corn usage goes to ethanol. You take that away, where does 40% of the corn in America go to? Yeah, some of you could say exports, but our export market right now flat out sucks. So where does 40% of our corn go when ethanol essentially comes to a standstill due to big oil? So, farmland price, yeah, no ROI there for sure. I totally agree with you there. Yeah, I mean, land prices are just insane, put it that way. I mean, that's why, you got, some of you guys ask me why we don't buy more ground. Well, it's mainly because, it's hard to pencil. I mean, you got to look at, how can you pencil some of these dryland fields out? Because, dryland fields, I mean, technically they're not worth $9,000 an acre, even though, the neighbors, I'm not, there's neighbors out there that are willing to pay that, even though that ground is not worth $9,000 an acre. And then in turn, put a pivot on it. That's $1,200 to $1,300 an acre. If you don't know your per acre costs, I suggest you look into that. I mean, an irrigator alone, cost per acre in order to put an irrigator out, not including the well, is $1,200 to $1,300 an acre. A well alone's $20,000 to $30,000 per well. It's hard to pencil some of this. You look at this, you look and scratch your head and wonder how. Explain. On I've got cost production sheets right there. I can pull up right now and put all of our input costs in, and on a price scale on a quarter by quarter price change on the corn price market, I can look at a $3.25 scenario. What kind of ROI we would be looking at, or cost and basically our profit loss at $3.25 versus a $4 cost per profit loss situation there. If you don't know this stuff, I suggest you look into it, because I mean, it's huge regardless what the commodity price is. You need to know this stuff, put it that way. I mean, I know some of you guys are probably like, thank God he's finally he's bringing this stuff up, because he's, I haven't really brought this stuff up, but at a $3 corn market right now, and I'm seeing some of the stuff that's going on, not just in our area, but in other counties also. It just amazes me that you know the equipment price. Well, I mean, going into equipment prices too, the way equipment prices are, but just how some farms operate on buying new equipment all the time. How do you? I mean, yeah, I know there's ways around rolling equipment and stuff like that, but that all catches up to you eventually. I mean, how do you again going back to it? How do you pencil a 9RXL at a $3 corn market? I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know. 150 acres, Mark. 150 acres. So I know in one of the videos you guys asked me what if we had any options to rotate, like because we were 50-50 this year, if there was any acres out there that we could actually switch from corn to beans based on our current commodity price, basically, and we had the option to switch out 200 acres, and Dad was talked with me about it for about a week there, because he got real nervous about it, and then we ended up just saying, you know what, it is what it is. Probably a good thing we're going to stay 50-50. And basically, the reason why we were 50-50 was just based on crop rotation and plus trying to get some fields back into certain rotations. So basically, we were kind of glad that we were sitting at 50-50 even going into this, to kind of spread our risk there. But, I don't know. It just was that the right thing? Is planting more beans than corn the right thing to do, or is planting more corn than beans this year the right thing to do? Either way you look at it, it's a shot in the dark. Every year it's a shot in the dark. So that's awesome, Brandon. Can't wait to hear how the results come out this year on that. I'll have to message. I'll have to message you on that about the bean varieties, because I know you were asking me about which bean variety side by side you want to do with like a Bex number to like kind of do a video comparison side by side throughout the year. I'll have to have Dad message our agronomist and find out which bean variety would look, do us the best side by side comparison with. So, and also, just depends on which soil type you're going to put on, or put, on, put, let me back up. I like got all tongue twisted there. Which bean variety you're going to put where on what soil type, basically. So, yeah. Exactly. I mean, deer pasture, I totally agree. I mean, interest rates are an all-time low. So that's what the biggest thing is there. People are adjusting their interest rates and looking at the fact that, they can try and roll this equipment a little bit better there. But so I guess that's interesting there, James. I mean, I've heard about that too for the past week. I guess they were discussing that about buying farm goods and stuff like that to try and inflate the corn market a little, or well, not just the corn market, but all commodity markets right now. Because basically the economy's at a standstill at this point, or a very slow roll. um, but I guess my thing is, they were promising that we were going to get essentially COVID-19 or Corona stimulus money, or at least the farmers were. I guess my thing is, let's just say I haven't gotten it yet. Apparently, I'm supposed to be getting it. Dad, I think Dad's gotten it. The stimulus check, $1,200 stimulus check. Actually, no, he hasn't gotten it yet because taxes. I don't know. Our accountant hasn't done her taxes yet, I don't think. Or has or hasn't. I think that could be why I haven't gotten the stimulus check yet. I don't know. Whatever. So let's just say 150 million people in the U.S. get a stimulus check. So 150 million times $1,200. That is $180 billion. $180 billion. Now I'm figuring, I think there's 330 million people in the US. So I'm just figuring roughly just under half of the US population. If I'm doing this, if I'm using correct figures here, I should actually use correct figures here. US population, 328 million. I was pretty darn close. So let's just say, like I said, half the people in the US get it, 150 billion. So times 1,200, that's $180 billion. That's not including, well, technically you have to have tax, well, you have to basically be doing taxes in order to do it. I think because I did taxes last year, I'm eligible for it. I think that's how it works or something. To be honest, I don't know, Jack. I thought that's how it worked. It's the government. Who knows how it works for sure, but yeah, 150 million, that's 180 billion dollars. And that's not including all the federal aid that's out there, unemployment money that's going out there. And like I've always said, and like Dad's always said and Grandpa's always said, consumers are the ones that are always going to get that aid before the farmers actually see it. So let's just say, MFP 3.0 comes out. Now, not necessarily, it's not a market facilitation program due to a trade issue. It's due to a pandemic. If you know a pandemic, which technically it is a pandemic, the coronavirus is. But I guess you can still arguably say it's a market facilitation program payment because it's, stimulating the market supposedly or offsetting the market price. You take that, and supposedly there's 15 trillion or 15 billion that's going to the farmers or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really matter what the number is. I doubt, even if there was some amount of money that was going to trickle their way down after the consumers go through, like I said, I'm eligible. Dad's eligible, grandma's eligible. Everybody that essentially is a tax-paying citizen is eligible from what I'm understanding with the stimulus check. I could be wrong. I could be wrong with that, but I don't know. From what I'm understanding is that if you pay taxes and are a citizen, that you are eligible for the stimulus money. So when that all happens or has happened and is all blown over here with the stimulus check, $1,200 obviously is not going to go very far, regardless. You look at that on income and everything like that and expenses, $1,200 alone is not going to go very far for the average U.S. consumer. Obviously, it's right there. Larry brought it up. $5 pound, hamburgers for $5, right there. I mean, that's insane. Meat prices are going crazy because, packing plants and stuff like that, processing plants are shut down. So therefore, there's a whole backlog. I talked with this with our John Deere dealer. I can't really elaborate too much on what we talked about this because it was actually a really good conversation that him and I had on the hog industry, basically, on basically how there's a whole backlog on that. And then on top of that, yeah, exactly, Larry, milk prices. I mean, there's a whole dumping the milk situation right now because there again, facilities are shut down. Therefore, there's a whole backlog in product not getting down to the consumer. And at $1,200, just like what me and our salesman and I talked about, $1,200 will get eaten up instantly in expenses, income for rent, mortgage payment. It's just going to go. That's the last thing they're going to look at is with groceries. It's going to go directly to expenses. So my point is, I guess basically, is by the time $1,200 per U.S. citizen, tax-paying citizen that gets distributed, where anybody that's eligible, whatever. I don't know if it's tax-paying citizen, whatever. Whoever is eligible that gets the stimulus money gets the stimulus money. By the time that goes through, and supposedly we get some form of money to offset this market, whatever, similar to the MFP, whatever. They're saying it's supposedly similar. I highly doubt it. You know, how much money can the government print in order to trickle down to us to amount to anything? At this point right now, the dollar will not be worth anything compared to what it was before. I mean, I don't think anybody's really thought about that. Exactly, Brandon. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, basically, it's just a whole ploy. Taxes, you'll end up paying that back. It's just, yeah. So how much money can the government print in order for, something to even amount to anything come down to us? Consumers get the first choice, or get priority number one. So basically, back when the trade war was going on, so say, well, it's happened. Phase one got signed. What's going to get sent over? What's going to be traded first? Consumer items. Why? Because consumers are number one. They are priority number one. So let's get, all those fancy laptops, toys, all that traded back and forth, get that all going on. Then let's actually go down to commodities. Something that's actually more important than, consumer products. But arguably, consumers are more priority over, commodities. So whatever, I mean, it just, I don't know. Call it ranting, but I mean, it's exactly right. So I mean, it's just amazing to me on how fast the economy has come down to a standstill. I mean, even there's talks of a recession. There is a possibility, and I agree. I mean, there could be a recession. I mean, I talked to one guy, and he goes like, "I wonder if this could potentially put us back in the '80s." The only thing that's different between the '80s and now is interest rates, essentially, and interest rates can be set however they want, basically. I mean, yeah, granted, uh, federally federal interest rates got set to an all-time low to help stimulate the market, but you come out of this, where do interest rates go? I mean, once things get opened up here, where could interest rates go? Who knows? I mean, basically, from what I understand, the only difference between right now, people say, "Oh, this is just like the '80s." Well, from what Dad and Grandpa keep telling me, the '80s, the biggest difference or the biggest downfall there in the '80s was the interest rates. I mean, to be honest, you didn't know if you were going to be farming next year because of how bad it was then. But how far are we from Kentucky? About 4 hours. I don't know. I mean, and everybody's all excited about China buying corn. I've said it since the beginning. Once this got into the U.S. and affected the U.S. economy, that China made this virus. I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory that, I don't know, one of our hired guys that we had, that we talked to quite a bit and stay close with. He goes like, the city that this all originated from in China was one of the biggest biolab facilities in the world where this virus came from. I mean, who knows? Maybe China made it. I don't know. And this was literally, I kid you not, literally right after the phase one trade deal got signed and China got promised what? They promised 80 billion, I think, $80 billion in ag goods that they would buy. What better way to essentially crash the economy, crush the ethanol industry, buy cheap corn, and therefore have some to even resell? Because essentially you can buy more corn versus, you're going to buy more corn at a $3.25 market versus a $4 market. I mean, call it conspiracy what you want. I mean, I don't know. I agree. I mean, I think it could have been. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just, it makes sense. I mean, unless it's just a weird coincidence, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bungie was selling, I don't know, what, 25 facilities to a Japan company right now or whatever. It's just like, what in the world? Why do we do that? Why do we legally let that happen? I mean, I don't know if it's actually fallen through and happened, but there's talks on, reading AgWeb articles that Bungie was selling what, 20 or I think it was like 25 facilities to a Japanese company or whatever. And it's just like, why? Why do we why do we do this? I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, John, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you think about it. I mean, buy cheap corn. What is, it's the easiest. The funny thing is, though, the U.S. the other thing, that that our hired guy brought up. He's like, it's a good, they had all those riots and everything in China, and populate, it's a good population control type thing. I hate to say that, but that's what, you know, China could have said. They could have said, oh, it's a population control type thing. Well, that kind of backfired because I don't know. The U.S. has the most cases of it, and China's, I don't know. Let's look it up. First thing I type in, literally, I kid you not. First thing I type in on Google, China, and I just do a space. First thing that comes up on the search bar, China made COVID. What is like Google listening in on me right now? Okay, so China COVID cases. 82,000. $1.36 million in the US. Kind of backfired if that was their whole plan. China made it and Amazon distributed it. I love it. That's great. I mean, yeah. How do you come out of this? How do you come out of this? I mean, it's just interesting. You think about it, and I don't know. We joked with our John Deere dealer. Will the handshake ever happen again? I mean, I went to McDonald's literally on Friday. First time I've ever had any outside human contact, literally. Well, I can't say that. We did go to Tractor Supply the one day, and we did go to Fennig Equipment. But first time I actually went to a restaurant, drive-through restaurant, and it was interesting to see everybody with the masks and everything. And it was insane because Knox was like going bonkers. The amount of people that were out and about because essentially Indiana's opened up. Not completely, obviously. We're on stage one, I think it is, but it's interesting to say the least. I mean, I don't know. I think Stark County only has like a couple of cases, to be honest. I think LaPorte County's got a decent amount. Lake County's pretty bad because of how close they are to Chicago, but it's interesting. I think alone there was, I think like 20 vehicles in line, but it was crazy because they were cranking them out one by one by one. Because I thought, man, I'm going to be in line forever, and I'm not going to get back to the field to help fill the planter up. But they were cranking them out pretty fast. So I don't know. I don't know. This whole Corona thing, it's insane. Geez. I don't know. So, well, what else do you guys want to talk about here? I don't know. I just saw a car driving down the road. I didn't know what the heck was going on. But I don't know. Besides this COVID-19 mess, what else do you guys want to talk about tonight? I guess it's going on 9:50. We'll run this for another 15 minutes. So, what's my YouTube or your? Oh, YouTube. What's my YouTube marketing plan as far as videos go or stuff like that? Explain, kind of elaborate on what you want me to talk about there, Deer Pasture. Well, I guess kind of jump back on the Corona thing real quick. You know, I don't think opening up the states is a good idea. I feel this thing is going to boomerang, and um, it's going to spike up here in the summertime. I mean, the funny thing was they kept saying this. Oh, these warmer temps, they'll get rid of it. It'll get rid of this coronavirus. And here Australia sits there like, we're at like I don't know how many cases right now. The heat's going to get rid of it, and we're in the midst of a summer right now. It's 80 to 100 degrees in Australia right now, and they're saying, "Oh, heat will get rid of it," and they've got cases down there. I'm sorry, really? I don't know. It's going to boomerang pretty bad. So, no, I would not straight pipe the 4650. Nope. Ever been to Western Kentucky? Yes. I've been to, well, not far Western Kentucky, but I've kind of been down in that. Well, let me pull up a map here. I've been down to the Corvette Museum, and that was that was during literally a couple months after the whole sinkhole incident there. So that was actually really interesting to see the pictures, at least, of the Corvettes down in the hole. The hole was still there. They hadn't patched it yet, but they actually showed they had all the cars there laid out. So that was actually really cool to actually see that. So what the heck was I even going to look up? I completely forgot here. Western Kentucky, so Kentucky. But yeah, the Kentucky, the Corvette Museum in Kentucky, that was really cool. We did not go on a factory tour just because we didn't have time. That was actually when we got my truck down in Texas. We were driving that back. We flew down. Oh, funny story on that. That was during a blizzard. My uncle knows a person. He's kind of like a business partner, I guess, with my uncle. Sell computers. They buy all. He worked for. Who did he work for? Motorola. Then Motorola went out of business essentially. Well, not really out of business, but got bought up or whatever. And there was a factory or distribution. Well, not factory, a warehouse, distribution warehouse that basically all these things were up for grabs. They bought a boatload of empty computers, basically computer towers. Basically, he found or figured out a way to sell these on Amazon and sold put Windows 10 on them and basically just sold them. Him and my uncle did. I think my uncle was in on this. And they made quite a bit of money doing that. And so there was a guy up in Chicago that when we went in, we were actually going to fly out that night. Flight got canceled. So we crashed at his house for that night, left. He drove us to the airport. I think it was, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, O'Hare or Midway. And flew down. It's only an hour and a half flight, go down to Houston. Got the truck, and we picked the truck up at Texas Direct Autos. We got Grandpa's truck there, the other F-150 that we have. Grandpa's truck, we got out of there, and then we ended up looking around for me, and I was wanting like an F-250, looked around for those, and those, fun fact, reason why F-250s are so high, F-250s, 2500s, whatever, that first, series of Super Duty truck, your heavy, basically, that size of truck across industry wide, basically, is the most desired size truck for companies or landscape businesses and stuff like that. And basically that's just the most desired size truck, stuff like that. So that is why you see a boatload of white trucks that size. And basically that's why you see those trucks pretty high priced. We ended up, and it was kind of a mistake looking back on it, why we even went up to New York. We went up to not New York City, but New York State. It was, well, I have the map pulled up here. It was just into New York. First time I've ever been to New York State. I think probably Dad's first time too. Trying to remember the town. It wasn't Irving. It doesn't matter. I mean, we were in New York State, just into it. I think it might have been Fredona sounds right. Fredona sounds just about right, I think. Doesn't matter. So, anyways, we went and looked at the truck. They had it up on a lift, and well, we actually slept overnight, and the dealership was literally right next to the hotel. Walked over there. When I drove over there because it was actually like not right next to it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Long story short, they had it up on a lift. We saw the overspray on it on the side of the passenger door. They wouldn't tell us what the heck happened to it because the Carfax report said, "Oh, it was a decent truck." Well, it was in an accident. They wouldn't say what or what happened. And I don't know, when it was up on the lift, it had more rust under it at 60,000 miles than what it had, or than what Dad's 2002 F350 has. At almost, he's 300 miles away from 300,000. More rust at 60,000 miles. I mean, granted, obviously thinking about it, they drive in a lot more salt on highway miles and stuff like that up in New York than what we do. And they're probably, salt is probably a lot worse than what it is here in Indiana. But so we ended up we ended up looking on Texas Direct Autos again, found the truck down there, and it only had like 8,600 miles on it. Flew down there, picked it up, and drove back. And coming back, we drove across Louisiana along that. What road is that? Right here, I'm looking right at it. It's Highway 10 or Interstate 10. That is a really, really cool road to drive on along that straightaway there. Basically, you're over, what is it? It's not really a swamp. It's the wetlands down there. That is really, really cool to drive on. And actually, first time that I've seen and Dad's seen rice fields. Really interesting to see that. We saw cotton in Mississippi State. That was actually really cool because basically we took 10 all the way across to 50. What is that? 55, and took 55 all the way up into Memphis and took Memphis. We went to the Bass Pro Pyramid. That's pretty cool. If you've never been to Memphis and been to the Bass Pro Pyramid, that is really cool. And yes, we did go up to the top of it. That is really cool. My cousin was with us when we went and got Grandpa's truck, and we went and toured the Gibson guitar factory there. That was really cool. Ate at the same barbecue joint both times. That was really cool. We cut across on 40, basically went through Nashville, didn't stay or do anything there in Nashville, and then went up to Bowling Green. That's basically as much as I've been in Kentucky, because basically we took 65 all the way north then, and went in through Bowling Green there, and then just Bowling Green up to Louisville. But I've been to Louisville every single year, obviously, for the farm show. But the only thing I've ever done really in Kentucky is Bowling Green. Gatlinburg, I think it's Gatlinburg in Tennessee. I've been there, not one? Yeah, it's once. Gatlinburg's pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really done much down in Kentucky except, stopping there at the Corvette Museum. So, which that was pretty fun. Yeah, 64, 66 Deere motor. Holy cow, straight piped. Do we have any beans up yet? Brandon, we've got beans. I checked this morning. We've got beans literally a half inch to a quarter of an inch getting ready to poke the ground. So within the next day or two, we'll have beans up. And those were the first beans we planted on the 24th or 5th. Actually, I read an article. Farm shows aren't canceled this year, supposedly. I read on AgWeb, actually. AgWeb posted an article about farm shows, and they said farm shows as of right now are not canceled. Farm Progress, I'll only go to the Farm Progress show if it's in Illinois. Iowa's kind of a little bit of a jaunt for us in order to go to the Farm Progress show. Dad's been there. on a Pioneer trip. They took a group of guys out to the Farm Progress show, I believe, through Pioneer back a while ago. But since then, I don't think they really do that. At least they haven't been for the past few years, at least. Never been to the Everglades. Well, no, never been to the Well, I can't say that. I've been to the Everglades because I've been to Disney, but never really drove down through the Everglades, really. But no, lazy. Well, yeah, basically that's what it is, Brandon. Down there, it's the Everglades. I was saying it's a swamp or whatever, but yeah, that's probably what's considered in Louisiana. Then is the Everglades too. Or I think I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't know. I've never been on Route 66. My cousins actually drove. I think they drove Route 66 from Illinois to California. I think they did that. I don't know how far they took it. I think they might have took it all the way. I don't know. Really? So what is your normal growing season for you guys, Evan? Do you guys when do you guys normally start planting? You should be able to. James, I think down in the bottom right, there's a little square box that has a cash sign on it, and it says "Show your support for Werner Farms," and you click that, and you can do a super chat. I think it is. Yeah, it's called a super chat, and you can send however much money you want to send me. $500 if you really want to send me, or you can send me $1. Any amount is greatly appreciated. Put it that way. It all goes right back into the farm. And if I accidentally skip over your comments, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to keep up on these the best I can. Yeah, definitely, Greg. I mean, that's why my grandparents hardly have been out and about at all. And Dad and I are careful where we go and everything. Basically, we haven't really gone anywhere, really. So that is not my Ford Dually, the F250 or F250, F350. It's an O2 7.3. That's Dad's truck. It's 300 some miles away, probably less than that. Almost to 300,000. So how much is a bag of Pioneer seed corn on average after discounts? I mean, I don't know, probably it's in like the $250 range. Have y'all ever grown any DeKalb corn? Nope. So we got a viewer all the way from Utah. Welcome, Doug. That is awesome to hear that. That's pretty awesome. So basically, what do you guys explain to me? What do you guys do differently in Utah? Because I know there's I've been out in Utah before. I've been out in the salt flats and stuff like that, and I've actually been off the beaten path away from Salt Lake City and stuff like that, and seen some of the farming done out there. I just haven't really didn't really understand. Not to say that I didn't understand any of the differences, but like what you guys, some of your guys' farming practices out there. I know it's different out there, and it did look quite a bit different, but kind of touch on what do you guys do differently out there? I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal to drive out to Iowa because, I mean, we go out to Iowa not often, but every once in a while we'll go out to Iowa. But really, the Farm Progress show at that time of the year when it's on, it's kind of like one of those times of the year where it's kind of like, we'll go if we can go. Otherwise, it's kind of like one of those things. We're not going to go just because we really, really want to go. It's just because it's kind of right coming off of a slow period during the year, and we're just ramping up to essentially harvest. So it's kind of like if we have time, we'll go. If we don't, we're not going to go. So really that's why we don't go to the one in Iowa. Really, that's crazy, Evan. Yeah, burned quite a few of the tree leaves here at the farm too, Brandon. I mean, honestly, we don't have any corn up, so thankfully we don't have. We're not going to have any issues with that. If we did have corn up, I know there was quite a few neighbors that were concerned about it. One of which I'm not going to name any names, but one of which we talk quite frequently about when we met with you guys, and you know who I'm talking about. Then um, he messaged me on or no, he posted on Facebook, and I commented on it because he was all concerned about their corn because they had corn up, and I said, well, depending on how tall it is, necessarily if it's at 1 to 2 collars, you shouldn't be, or if it's just coming up or like at 1 collar or so, you should be all right. But you know, any taller than that, then you're going to have an issue. But he really didn't go too far to elaborate after my comment, but because I think he was thinking I was trying to be a jerk or nothing, but I'm like I was being dead serious. I mean, if at certain stages, I mean, it's not really going to affect it as bad, but can we have your empty seed bags? Well, I mean, we keep them. I mean, put it this way: the reason why we keep them is just basically for uh, not really like a workbench type thing, but to lay parts on when we're cleaning parts or doing stuff like that or changing oil. We use a lot of the cardboard sheets that are on the pallets. Basically, after you take all the bags off of a pallet, there's that I don't know what it measures, 4x6 or not 4x6, 4x4, 4x5 sheet of cardboard. Well, it's not 4x4, but whatever. It's a sheet of cardboard there. Um, but I keep losing or keep getting sidetracked. You guys reading the comments, but it's a 4x some sheet of cardboard that we keep, and we keep those, and we keep the bags just for stuff like that. So um, we just got one box of Pioneer corn this year. We grow mostly to Calvin. That's cool, Nick. Can you sign? Wait, what? What are you asking there, Karen? About a seed bag? To be honest, we've been growing Pioneer and been a dealer for Pioneer for 30 some years. So to be honest, I'd have to ask Dad for sure because that was before my time on what we grew before Pioneer. If anyone has, yeah, hey, I second that, Greg. I'll take all that. Yeah. If anybody doesn't want their stimulus check, I'd gladly take a super chat. Just send me a super chat of, however much money you want to send me. I'd gladly appreciate it. Yeah, right there, 4x5. How much sweet corn will you plant this year? I have 5 plantings, 180 feet. I actually did the second planting on Friday. Not sure when I'm going to do the next one. It's just however the weather plays out here. Oh, so your auto, that's kind of cool, James. So best planter upgrades from stock. So basically what? If I took a 17, well, this would be a good example because that would lead right into something I actually want to kind of discuss tonight. So say if 30 intro beans work out for us, side dressing, a bean planter that I would want to get then is a 30-inch 1770 NT CCS, obviously for the central fill, because central fill is definitely necessary on a planter for beans. I definitely see the need for that. But I just got sidetracked in the comments again, just reading that. But yeah, yeah, Brandon, that was pretty funny. Yeah, Dan. Well, so what would you consider a better colored planter then? Red, blue? I mean, I don't know. Let's hear it, Dan. Because according to Matt Gilsinger, you can never go wrong with a green planter. I mean, obviously, heaven forbid if you go anything else than green, then, you're not farming then. But yeah, so I can definitely understand why CCS tanks are a must for beans. I agree on definitely getting 1770 NT CCS 16 row 30 if beans work out for us in 30s. But if I were to, I mean, there's a couple of planters that size I've got my eye on if we do end up, not to say that, 30s work out for us this year. I want to instantly go to a 30-inch row planter for next year. I mean, yeah, if I had the cash, I would do it. But granted, I got to pay off my purchase I'm making this year, so I got to kind of weigh, my spread my risk there on, I can't all put all my eggs in one basket on that. So I got to kind of look at that and kind of take a step back and understand, okay, where's my, where my one YouTube income is at, if it's, justifiable to look at making another purchase, as far as a bean planter goes, because I guarantee you, the bean planter thing will be on the back burner unless this YouTube thing just goes through the roof, which I doubt it, but never say never. Unless YouTube income, kind of picks up a little bit more here, the bean planter thing won't be on for another year at least, because I know more than likely we're probably going to look at getting a different sprayer. Hopefully, maybe next year if this market kind of picks up just a little bit more. But basically, taking a planter like that, what would be my first upgrade? If it was bean or if it was corn, instantly electric drives and road. Well, I taking a planter like that. I mean, a stock planter. It's got starters set up on it and in-furrows set up on it. Let's just say from that standpoint, it's already got, starter. Let's just say from a stock planter standpoint, because the planters I'm looking at are essentially stock with in-furrow and with starter. Well, essentially with in-furrow and starter set up on it. Let's just say from that standpoint, a stock planter I'm looking at would have in-furrow and starter set up on it, but the original style, single disc, colder setup for starter, and then in-furrow obviously for the Keatons. So let's just say that. First upgrade I would do on corn, from a no-till standpoint, row cleaners. Same with beans, row cleaners. Second upgrade for corn, definitely electric drives. Well, it's hard because because I've seen the ROI benefits of our current setup. So it's hard because it's like, I know we definitely would want the row cleaners, but if you had to pick one, it would have to be the row cleaners at first, because at least you're banning this. But you gotta, for our setup to work, that what we've seen is we would want the 2x2x2 setup, because that actually pays for itself very easily. But then, you got to have the row cleaners. We've seen the benefits with the drag chains and the closing wheel setup that we've got before running the Yetter twisters. So basically, if we go to a 30-inch row bean planter, I would want
our exact setup, and the reason why I'm pointing that way is because our planter, I've got a picture on my computer of the 4650 in the planter. Our exact planter setup, exactly how we have the row units laid out, the Yetter row cleaners, I would want narrow style gauge wheels. We just, didn't put those on our planter this year because if you watched the video, we had issues with those, so we ended up not doing it this year. And then corn price changed, and we ended up not doing it. But anyways, narrow style it basically working my way from front to back. Row cleaners, narrow style gauge wheels, so the 3-inch gauge wheels. The Yetter dual injection fertilizer setup. The Yetter twister closing wheels, Yetter drag chains. That's really it for a bean planter. Necessarily, you don't need electric drives. I mean, electric drives would be nice for a bean planter. That'd be nice. And then have V-Apply and flows and 20. I mean, obviously, I'd want to have a 2020 setup on the beans, but I'm talking about basically what I'm looking at is because I know I've kind of figured it up. If you buy like a 1770, that size, because those are basically a dime a dozen. 16 rows are, it seems like, CCS tanks and stuff like that. Basically, a planter like that you can buy for around 30 to 45,000. Decent one, like an actual. I mean, there's one up in Minnesota, quite a few of them that are complete reconditioned row unit ones. So basically, they've gone through and put new blades, new gauge wheels, new bushings, new closing wheels, and all that. But basically, I'd want to swap all that out, the gauge wheels and the closing wheels. Not right away. I mean, if they've got brand new closing or gauge wheels on them, keep the gauge wheels on them. But why spend the money on 3-inch gauge wheels when the original ones are working just fine? But I mean, obviously, I've seen the benefits of 3-inch ones on both corn and beans. I feel, but yeah. So I mean, you can pick a 1770 up that size and that style, a dime a dozen, really, in that $30,000 to $45,000 range if you're looking away from a John Deere dealer, and if you're looking at decent ones, not ones that are pretty much half wore out and need pretty much rebuilt. But if you look at like ones like that, I found a couple of them up in Minnesota that are reconditioned row unit ones. So basically, they've gone through the row units, like I said, basically brand new planters, but on a used toolbar essentially. So you can buy one of those, and you're looking at about, with row cleaners, I don't even know price for sure on row cleaners. I'd have to look those up. I figured roughly you'd put about 20 to, I don't know, total price would probably be around $20,000 to $25,000 into a planter right off the bat, then, to make it somewhat not identical, but close to our planter setup. Well, $20,000 to $25,000 would put it pretty darn close, just like ours. That's without putting the Air Force kit on it. So, but they actually have. There's a planter over in Ohio I found, but it's a lot. It's just a planter. It doesn't have reconditioned row units on it. It's got Air Force on it, which, yeah, I'd like to have Delta Force on a planter for beans, but dude, that's insane. I mean, bean, down force on beans, I feel, is a lot less or it's a little bit more forgiving than what it is on corn. So I feel pneumatic is essentially probably really the most I would do on beans. I mean, yeah, I'd like to go to Delta Force, but I mean, Delta Force is, I don't know, quite a bit of money per row. So I can't remember for the prices offhand, but it's quite a bit. So I'm going to kind of go back through the comments here. But yeah, so I mean, that in summary, that's what I'd be wanting to look at if 30-inch row beans work out for us. I mean, my opinion is if we can raise 85 bushel beans, dry land, with side dressing them and stuff like that, why change anything then? I'd be perfectly content with 85 bushel beans. I mean, consistently, we can't seem to breach that 65, 70 bushel yield barrier. I mean, that's in our area. I mean, that's across the board. Doesn't matter what brand beans you grow, that's across the board. Dan likes his blue ones. So let me ask you this, Dan. On a New Holland sprayer, are they essentially like a Miller sprayer, or did New Holland buy Miller, or what's the deal there? Because they look identical. Because I haven't really looked at one up close, but I've driven past some of the New Holland sprayers, and they look just like the Miller sprayers. I don't know if they're what, like Miller and New Holland are like this, or what. I don't know. Oh, I'll buy a seed bag if you sign it. So if you buy would you buy a Pro Box if I signed a Pro Box? I'll sign every bag if you. I'll put it this way: every bag that you buy, I'll sign. I don't care if I got to take apart like 5 stacks of 60. I'll sign them. Bela, what's your problem? I'll sign them. Put it that way. Brandon, you sign yours. I mean, put it this way, John. The closing wheels, they help reduce break up that sidewall compaction. Put it that way, basically based on the twist in them a little bit, and they help break up that sidewall compaction. I feel if you're going to do a no-till situation, definitely do the spike closing wheels on both sides of the row for sure to get that zipper effect and seal that furrow up as best as what you can. The drag chains, our soil guys talked us into using the drag chains to just kind of seal that furrow up, and people argue about that. We've never had an issue with the chains wrapping up on the closing wheels. I mean, I know of guys. I actually saw it on Facebook today. A whole post about a guy bashing it about drag chains, about how they're just essentially scrap metal, and I'm like, I didn't comment, but it's just like, well, we've seen good luck with the drag chains. I can't say we've never done any testing on it. We've never taken the drag chains to yield, but in our opinion, it works pretty good. So New Holland bought Miller back in 2014. I thought that's what they did. I just didn't know what year, but it just seems like. But I know what they make. They still make the Miller sprayers, though, right, Dan? So our co-op, essentially Union Mills, is about 8 or 9 miles away. Hamlet's 9 or 10. Burns Harbor, I'd have to figure up the distance here real quick on Burns Harbor. We haul to Burns Harbor. We haul to La Paz. We've taken a couple loads over the Claypool before. We haul to Union, we haul to Malden, we haul to Hamlet, we haul to Burns Harbor. Like I said, we haul to La Paz, we haul to couple. We took a couple loads over to Claypool. Hammond seems to always have a quick bid there going in the fall when they need corn early on. So. I mean, I know some of you guys are probably like 70 bushel beans. My God, some of you guys are probably like, holy cow, 70 bushel beans. But I mean, that's pretty normal for us, is to have 60, 65, sometimes 70 bushel beans. Sounds good, Brandon. But yeah, so those are our elevators that we deal with mostly. We haven't really hauled the Hammond, just basically because it's really the difference on trucking. So. So Dan, whereabouts are you? What, you're down in Rochester, right, Dan? So you're a dual branded sprayer. Okay, so you guys sell both Miller and, well, since you guys sell New Holland, you guys would sell, like you just said, dual branded. I mean, you don't also offer the red ones, but so you guys are what, down in Rochester, right? I mean, put it this way, I'm not saying all of our fields are 60, 65. I mean, on our better ground, it's 60, 65, 70. Um, Typically on our, blow sand, we're getting anywhere from 0 to 45, 50, 55. I mean, it just all depends on the rain. So I'm not saying consistently that we're getting, you're going to plant Pioneer beans, you're going to get 70 bushel beans no matter where you put them. That's not how it works. I don't care what seed company you buy from. If they are sitting there saying that if you plant this product, you are guaranteed this yield, no, that's not how it works. Right product, right acre. That is exactly what it comes down to. It. Right product, right acre. If you're just, doesn't matter the variety, doesn't, it's all comes down to right product, right acre. That is where you are going to get the most bang for your buck on yield. Yep. Bex does. I know that. Yeah, they've got a guarantee on yield, I'm pretty sure. I've heard about that. 200 bushel corn. I agree right there with you, Evan. 200 bushel corn for us is really good. Put it that way. I mean, if you're getting, for us, if you're getting 160 to 175 bushel on dry land, that's good. That's really good. I mean, on certain fields. I mean, if there's certain fields out there that are dry land, like say over at the river, if we're getting 160 over at the river, we're kind of like, what's going on? Because that's pretty decent ground over there, and it's pretty common to see 200 on the monitor. So bean population, we basically drop. Well, we had, since basically we're all ground driven on population, we tried to get it down to around 140. At first, we had it at 104. At least a monitor, at least 2020 was reading 147. Funny thing on a 2020 monitor, it does not read the singulation on population for beans. Just for us, at least. I don't know if we've got sensors are not like up to date enough to read bean population, or we need beans. I don't know. But for us, it wouldn't read singulation on beans. So at least that's what Dad said. I never got the chance to plant any beans. Dad, that was actually Dad's first time planting beans with a planter. So he's ever since then he grew up drilling beans, basically like I did. I mean, I grew up drilling beans, so we dropped. But yeah, we backed it off down since it was reading 147. We backed it down to 142, 141 because we wanted 140,000 drop. So when the beans get up enough that we could actually start doing some population tests out there and basically, check the stands, I'll probably have a video on that. That way you guys can see what our actual true stand ended up being out there, because it'll be really interesting to see how these ends up doing. So coal, okay, so that's interesting. I really don't want to. Okay, so that's interesting. I mean, we've never really. I say our biggest downfall. I mean, I know some of you guys were asking me about this, about our downfall, our biggest downfall on our farm. It's probably for sure grain marketing. I mean, I know a lot of farms are probably going to agree with me on that, about their own downfalls is grain marketing probably also. Probably the biggest thing, people are probably saying over and over again this year is, if you only knew. I wish we would have dumped all of our corn back in March, but it is what it is. So Dan, you guys demoing any Millers or New Hollands this year, sprayers? Or what's your sales territory basically for Rochester down in your area? Because actually, we spent some time at the what's it called? Oxbow. Can't even think of the name. It slipped my mind. We spent some time at the Oxbow one mainly because I was watching Brian's videos and I was quite intrigued with the Oxbow sprayer. So we spent some time, Dad and I. I kind of knew what the Oxbow sprayers looked like. Dad didn't really have a clue because one, he doesn't really watch YouTube videos that often at all, like next to none, unless he's trying to figure out something and I'm not around and I really don't know. Uh, if there's like a tech issue, he tries and figures it out on his own. If I'm not around, then he calls me. And to be honest, I actually go on YouTube to help fix his situations also if I don't know it. But so we looked at the Oxbow sprayer. We are actually very impressed with the Oxbow sprayer on simplicity and maintenance and everything. It's pretty impressive. Um, just I wish there were some used ones out there, put it that way, to kind of offset the basically cost of how much a new one is. I mean, basically, I don't want to be buying a new sprayer, put it that way. So, but a used sprayer, definitely, I'd be definitely in the market for possibly a used sprayer more than likely next year. So yeah, I mean, there's a good possibility. I can't say it's confirmed, but there is a good possibility uh, that there will be an Oxbow sprayer make their way to Werner Farms on a demo. Not to say that we're going to buy. We're not going to buy a new sprayer. I guarantee you that 110%. Um, but there is a possibility, that we're going to end up buying a used sprayer. So I guess I just want to consider all my options before we settle on a sprayer because I've never really. I know I've been in the Miller sprayers before. I don't know what year our Miller sprayer or our Miller sprayer, our custom applicator, our neighbor essentially that sprays our wheat. Um, I don't know for sure what year his Miller is. He runs ag leader guidance on it and I think he's not. I think it's just because he hasn't quite figured out the ag leader guidance. Maybe I don't know. I definitely would want auto steer on a sprayer for sure. Right now, we just run AB lines on guidance or through our brown box on our sprayer setup. If you guys really like our sprayer setup, I know that a lot of you guys comment about it, but yeah, Brian had a Oxbow sprayer on demo. That was basically a lot of the things I like on it is just the mechanical side of it, and then on top of that, the aluminum booms. That's a really nice feature that they do. So, and basically how it's all John Deere auto steer ready and stuff like that, and well, really auto steer ready for any system. So, no, our farm has not always planted Pioneer. We started planting Pioneer when we became a dealer. Um, I can't remember for sure what we actually planted before that. Yep, I watch how farms work. Ryan actually stopped by here. Um, Not last year. Was it last year? I can't remember. He did stop by here though. What are you gonna want for a trade on the 4230? Like, what are we wanting price wise, or like what would we want to go to on a sprayer? Yeah, section control for sure. The spreader, I have no idea, but that Brian actually told me uh, way before any of you guys actually saw his videos. I was actually talking with him about their Oxbow sprayer because it was back in January when I messaged him about their Oxbow because I was quizzing him on it. Well, not there, but the one they demoed on because I was curious on it and asking him some stuff on it, his likes and dislikes. And we both had the same thoughts on it, even though I didn't even run it. We basically both had the same thoughts on it. And he told me, he's like, yeah, we're actually going to be getting a demo on a Oxbow spreader. I'm like, really? Because they actually had an Oxbow spreader there at the Fort Wayne Farm Show too. Because he asked me, he's like, hey, did you actually look at one of those too? And I'm like, well, not really, because mainly we were looking at the sprayer because of we're not necessarily in the market, but more than likely next year or towards the end of this year, I'd like to consider looking at a sprayer. So What do you think they'd offer you on the 4230 sprayer? I'd rather not say it because I really don't want to upset anybody. Um, because there's too many viewers on here that actually know our local Deere dealer. And um, yeah, quite a few here probably really laughing right along with me here on what they would offer. Uh, yeah. Yeah, one of the original, like what, Haggy sprayer coupe ones. Yeah, the spray coupe styled ones. Yeah, the ones that look like, I don't know, what are they called in Star Wars? Star Wars X Wings or whatever, or A Wings, whatever they call them. Yeah. Hey, anything is better than any sprayer setup is better than our setup, put it that way. Anything newer than ours. Yeah, they own the sprayer, I know that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I forgot. They ended up buying that. Yeah. The spreader's a demo. I know that for sure, but there's I don't know. I mean, we've talked that we might end up keeping it. I mean, necessarily. I mean, we could sell it or get rid of it. I hate to say get rid of. Um, More a trade in. I like trade in better than get rid of. Get rid of is kind of a strong hate word. um, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it would be a nice sprayer to just kind of have. Um, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Um, the reason why I laugh on about the trade-in thing is because, well, I really don't want to elaborate too much because I really don't want to say too much on that. But the 4650, I mean, I joke with our dealer. He really wants us to trade in the 4650 for like an 8245R, really for an 8245R. And I told him, I want more ponies than 8245R. And he's like, "Oh no, you guys want an 8245R?" I'm like, "Yeah, but what if we go 24 row? We'll put the 8530 on it." I'm like, "Yeah, but an 8245R won't pour Great Plains." I mean, that's why it's just things like that that I want to look at here. But um, I flat out asked him, I'm like, "Well, what's the 4650 worth?" Well, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I'm like, "Yeah, but you know." I guarantee you, I know it's not worth more than $30,000. And you want it's not worth 30. I know it's not worth 30,000 to you, but uh, I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea what the 4650 would even be worth. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I totally agree, Dan. I mean, I would want at least basically something big, just as big, if not bigger than the 8530. Because my theory is if the 8530 is tied up doing one job and it's also needed with that same amount of horsepower for another job, you're going to want another tractor equivalent, if not more power, to do that other job. So I mean I don't know. I mean, the R series sprayers are really, really nice sprayers. I really like the R4038s. So I would really love a Haggy, but a Haggy's just not in the market. Actually, Kentucky Farmer, I actually discussed that about, around over 2.5 hours, about an hour ago in a live stream. Hey, let's get this. I just glanced up to see how many people are in here. 102 people in here. That is awesome. We're at 96 likes. Let's get this stream up to 100 likes. But yeah, Kentucky Farmer, we were actually going to go to an FD 140, but we ended up putting that on hold due to current market price right now, the whole situation there with the markets. So I'm just scrolling back up through the comments here. So Dan, you can actually get Deere guidance then on the New Holland units. That's cool. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, not just from a salesman perspective, but just what are your thoughts on a Miller or a New Holland sprayer? Because essentially, if New Holland owns Miller, they're pretty much identical then. But what are the differences? What are the differences on a New Holland versus a Miller? And should we be looking at those? Not like, or what should we be? What I'm getting all tongue tied here. What should we be looking out for those if we were to look at those, and what model years and stuff like that? And do you guys sell, or basically, do you guys market wise? Is there a lot of guys running 120-foot sprayer booms or what? That's basically what I thought. I just didn't want to say it, Dan, but that's basically what I was thinking. That basically it's just a color and plastic decal type thing. Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too, Ryan. I hope so too. Put it this way, I mean, I doubt that we're going to get anything on trade or trade value for it. So if we do end up deciding to do anything with the 4650, I wouldn't be surprised we end up selling it outright if we ever decide to end up doing anything with it. It's running 230 right now, Brandon. 4630 was turned up to, it was north of 200 and it still is north of 200. It's floating around 200, 205 right now. The 4630 is. It was probably 215, close to it. Never heard of 1151. We don't plant any chrome numbers. We plant all just AM, just doubles. But yeah, we plant quite a bit of 1197. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, Kentucky. 100 foot and 1,000 gallon. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, just for weight. And I do like the idea of going to 120 foot though. If we do end up going to a 24, well, not if, when we go to a 24 row someday, 120 foot, I feel would match a little bit better for spraying passes and stuff like that on the ends. But I don't know. I've talked to different people and they've all said, I've gotten different remarks on it doesn't really matter on matching with a planter, and some say it does, some say it doesn't, but I don't know. It all depends. Dan, that's what we've been told, and actually it did beat 1197 in our plot last year, so that's why we've got about at least 250 acres of 1077 out. We do have some 1213 in a split field. We did half of an 80-acre field, half of it 1077 and half of it 1213 irrigated. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So that's what I've been told also. Some of our we've talked to a custom, basically the applicators up at Helena. They run, I think, 100-foot booms on their Haggies. And I think they had a 120-foot Haggie, and he was one of our salesmen used to be, or I think still is, an applicator for him. That is a salesman from Helena that we deal with. I think he still is a applicator for him, but he was telling us about how 120-foot boom is way too big. So I don't know. I don't know. The New Holland comes standard with a footprint gas pedal. That's funny. Never heard of 1247. So you guys must be in a different territory than what we are as far as seed goes, because some of these numbers I've never even heard of. I can't say I've never heard of 1151 because I've actually heard of that number before, but it's just not in our area. Yeah, our 4430 is running around that too there, Brandon. I think it's It's not. I don't think it's 180, but it's around like 100. Well, I mean, it's probably upper 100, upper 70s. I would say not 100. I don't think it's 180, but yeah, we could go more. But Bill was really griping when we put the pump back on it. He's like, "Oh, no, you can't do that. That's past deer speed." Like, Triangle did it. We're fine. Oh, no. You can't do that. You can't do that. I'm not responsible because he overhauled the engine, and he's like, oh, no, we can't do that. Dad's like, put it on. Just going back through the comments here, guys, just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody on here. Well, I kind of said that we were going to end it around 10, like 15, and it's almost 11 o'clock, so I guess we'll end it around 11. We've been Pioneer dealers for 32 years now. It would be 32, I believe, this year. So how many gallons is your sprayer now? So basically our sprayer setup right now, we have two 250-gallon saddle tanks and then the 300-gallon tank and a 3-point. So it's 800-gallon. Oh, so mycogen C. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I'm on slow time over here. Yeah. So yeah, mycogen. Okay, so yeah, Pine. Well, basically mycogen and all that. That's under the Corteva family. Same with seed consultants and I don't know. I think Hogemeyer's under there, and there's a whole mile-long list of the companies that are under Corteva. So we sold, I would say, close to 500 acres of enlist bean. Well, no, more than that. 600 acres of at least enlist beans. Brandon's got some, I know that. Well, I guess we'll wind the stream down as we get close to 11 o'clock here. I did not think the stream was going to be this long, but we ended up talking about quite a few good things tonight and ranting about Corona and equipment prices, obviously, too. Yep, Bill is the one you're thinking of. I'm pretty sure. Yep, if we're thinking of the same Bill, it's Bill down at Knox. Yep. A lot of the local guys that probably work with Knox work with Knox. John Deere probably know who I'm talking about. So we've been friends with Bill since, well, mainly since he's started working there. Do I have any? I think that's his last name, right? Bill Schott, I think. I don't. No, it's Gerke. I hate to throw last names out there, throw other people's names out here that aren't in the stream, but yeah, I think that's his name, Gerke. We buy it all. Well, I can't say we buy it all because actually our boss, who's essentially called our DSM, he gave us a whole, I don't know, bag of hats, and it was probably this long. Brandon actually saw the hats that were in there. They were the blue hats. We got 2 packages of those, and yeah. So we did end up getting some free stuff there. But all of our merchandise, including the stuff I'm wearing right now, we buy and give out to our customers. So Carhartt jackets, stuff like that. That's $100 and stuff like that we just buy and give out to our customers to show our appreciation of having them and stuff like that. So like the cubes of sticky notes, like I don't know, this is an older one, but stuff like that. I don't know. Basically, at the field day, we have this whole counter over here. If you guys watched the office tour, you guys know what I'm pointing at here. We have this whole counter here lined up with stuff. Since oh, there's another water over here. Cool. I was wanting to water. We give out a whole bunch of free stuff here. We actually gave out last year, which we'll probably do this year, these coasters. These things are pretty sweet. I love these things. Pens, pencils, obviously, hats, t-shirts. We had some pocket knives that we had here that we give out. Koozies, pads of paper. We did a raffle for some Pioneer socks. That was actually pretty fun. What else? We give out a whole bunch of stuff. We actually order these. We don't give these out, but we order these. I don't know if you guys can really. That one's basically just. They're basically just. I don't even think we can get those anymore, to be honest. These things. I've got a corn one and a bean one over there, identical to that. They're just pens and pencil holders. I don't think we can get those anymore, obviously, or like I said before, but. Yeah. So we give out a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, it's no big deal for us to order this stuff and just give it out. I mean, it's just showing appreciation for having people as them as our customers. So, what do you do during downtime? When I have downtime, it's basically just editing videos and catching up stuff on social media, basically, and hanging out with some friends, basically. So when I have downtime, very little of it, but when I do. So back to Ryan's question on do you have any advice on someone looking to get into selling seed? To be honest, I don't know this day and age if you want to go to Pioneer and buy or sell seed from them. I don't know the whole procedure on how to go about doing that, to be honest, because we've been a dealer for 32 years. So I don't know the whole process on that. But yeah, this year we should give out toilet paper and hand sanitizer and Clorox and Lysol spray and stuff like that. Live chat tomorrow? Probably not. I'll have a video out. I actually was going to post a video tonight, but I just didn't take the time to do it just because we've been doing this live stream. But yeah, I'll have a video tomorrow. I'll have a video. Actually, I'll have a video tomorrow. Let me look at my calendar here. I'll do a video tomorrow. I'll do a video. I'll have a video every day this week, put it that way. Let's just say that. I'll have a video every day this week. There's an ethanol plant in South Bend that I believe is closed. I believe they are closed right now. Whereabouts are you located, Ryan? Always, Chavez, always looking to expand. Yeah, Bill's worked on our 4430. He's basically worked on all of our tractors, the 4430, the 4630, the 4650. Like I said, he overhauled the 4650 and the 4430 and stuff like that. So I mean, he's done a lot of stuff for us. He's a really awesome guy. Oh, okay, so that's cool. And then Ryan, I hate to butcher your last name, but Elson Peter, I think that's his last name. I hate to say that, but if I butchered that, I'm really sorry. Whereabouts are you located at? I'll probably do a live stream Sunday. I know I did some polls on it on the community tab about how often to do a live stream, and you guys kind of ended up suggesting overall to do once a month. I know some of you guys may disagree with that, but that's just kind of how the polls ended up going out. Is that it ended up being once a month. So I'm not going to necessarily end up, religiously staying at once a month. I ended up doing one now. I'll probably end up doing one next Sunday. It just all depends on if I have time or not. So, what does most of your corn go to in your area? You mean like brand wise, Clayton? Oh, that's cool, Ryan. Yeah, I follow I don't know, quite a few new accounts up in New York, one of which is like the New York Farm Girls and stuff like that. There's a couple New York farms up there that I follow, and yeah, there's snow on the ground up there. That's Brandon. I need to shout you out. Go follow because there's like 100 people in here. Go make sure you guys go and subscribe to Dirt Grain and Steel. He's just getting started on his. Well, I can't really say you're just getting started. You've had your YouTube for I don't know how long now, but I really want to get you up and going. That way you can get live streams because I know you really do some good live streams, Brandon. But be sure to subscribe to Dirt Grain and Steel. He does some really really good videos, so be sure to subscribe to him. He's also you got an Instagram, I know that. So I don't know if that's like with your YouTube or what, but yeah, definitely go and subscribe to Dirt Green and Steel for sure. Oh, so like as far as livestock feed and ethanol, um, basically that. I mean, there is some. I mean, I would say majority of it goes down south, our corn does, and then the remaining of it goes to ethanol. I would say, as far as percentages go, I would have to talk to our local grain marketer up in Union Mills as far as the breakdown because he actually used to work for Cargill and then he ended up working for Co-Alliance. So, but as far as the breakdown goes, it's kind of hard to say as far as how much goes to where. But yeah, mainly livestock and ethanol, or livestock feed and ethanol. Sorry. Um, Yeah, it's really all location, 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 Ryan. I mean, it just seems to be the Pioneer in our area performs better than what the DeKalb does. I know there's certain areas where DeKalb kicks butt over Pioneer. I mean, I'm not, I can't say that Pioneer works everywhere. I mean, obviously there are circumstances where DeKalb does out yield Pioneer. So I mean, you know, I'm very biased, put it that way. I'm or not. I can't say I'm not biased on that came out wrong. I'm not biased on, saying that Pioneer works everywhere, so I since, we farm, we see both sides of it. So, we know that, Pioneer obviously isn't going to work everywhere, but we do our best to put the right product on the right acre to make sure that yields or has the most potential there. So, did your farm ever consist of any animals? No, we've never had livestock to so to speak, as far as on a production level, um, farm production level, I guess you could say. I don't know. Yeah. I'll pin his comment right now, and that way you guys can make sure to follow him. Pin. How do I even pin the comment? Put user in timeout. No. Hide user in this channel. Add moderator. Remove. Report. I don't even know how to do that, Braden. be able to click somewhere on here and like view his channel or something, I think. Or just search it. That's interesting, James. I haven't heard that one. Yeah, I know, Brandon, you'd definitely be able to. You'd definitely do some really good live chats, that's for sure. As interesting as what your videos are, I know your live chats would be really, really awesome to watch. Yeah, your videos are really good too. I watch your. I can't say I watch everybody's videos religiously. You know, I can't. I watch, you know, every single one of everybody's videos. I just do the best I can on spreading out and trying to watch everybody's videos every once in a while. But yeah, Mark, I watch your videos too, and your videos are really good also. I like watching yours. So don't you know, if you guys see a channel on here that you guys want to check out, like Mark's Motorsports and Farming channel, you know, feel free to go check them out and don't forget to subscribe to them. But I mean, put it this way, I'm open to shout outs as far as, you know, channels I watch and stuff like that. So to be honest, I've never actually looked at white planters, and I'm not, you know, a planter is going to plant the corn, or let me back up. A planter is going to plant however you design it. Like basically, you know, basically all planters are designed roughly the same. It's just the attachments that you put on it in order to prove the performance of the planter. So personally, I'm just more biased towards a John Deere planter, if anything. So it is past 11 o'clock, and we're going to wind it down here. Dan, I've watched your videos on there. Your harvest videos are actually pretty cool to watch. I didn't realize Dan was still in here. He hasn't commented in a while, so I didn't know if he was still in here or not. But yeah, so we're going to wind it down here. It is just after 11 o'clock here. It's probably, what, midnight here where Dan's at because he's in Rochester. But we're going to wind it down. Last minute comments or discussion questions or whatever real quick here. And I'll go ahead and end the stream here in the next couple of minutes. And so, yeah. Any last minute thoughts, questions? So, yeah, don't forget to subscribe to those channels I talked about here. And, yeah. Yep, you too, Ryan. Let me know. I guess be sure to like the stream as you're leaving. That way I know you guys really enjoyed the stream. And, yeah, basically that's it. So last minute discussion questions, anything like that, and we'll kind of wind down on the stream here and end it. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Basically I just really appreciate that. Every subscription, every like, every view, just helps grow the channel, put it that way. If I didn't answer your question, I'm really sorry about that tonight. There's quite a few questions. I try and stay on top of them the best I can. So if I missed it, I'm really sorry. You'll have to post it in the next live stream. So like I said, if I missed it, I'm sorry. So like I said, I do the best I can to try and stay on top of them. So well, I'll throw it out there one more time. Is there any other last minute discussion questions or anything? If so, or if not, I'll go ahead and end it here at 3:05 and possibly do another live stream maybe Sunday. I should have a video out, whether that's a vlog or a drone video, because I'm going to post 2 drone videos this week, and I should have at least 3 vlog. Well, I know I'll have 3 vlogs out, so easily have a video every day this week. I should have some exciting stuff coming out this week. It's around 1,500 acres what we farm, Nick. That's awesome, Brandon. Hopefully that puts you closer to 1,000. I think it's what you need 1,000, right, for live streams. Do you? Oh, rocks in our land? No. Thankfully, no. We are blessed to not have rocks, but we are blessed with blow sand. So, so yeah, a lot of exciting things coming up. Planning for corn has pretty much come to an end for 2020. Hopefully. um, but yeah, beans should get beans finished up tomorrow, if not Tuesday, depending on how much rain we got over at the river. Um, so yeah, hopefully maybe tomorrow, if not Tuesday, we'll finish beans and we'll be officially done for plant 2020. Hopefully. And a lot of exciting things coming out here in the next couple of weeks. What we'll be doing. No, we don't have crop insurance. We quit crop insurance about 10 years ago. So yeah, a lot of exciting things, like I said, that we're going to be doing this year. A lot of trials. One of the things I did not talk about tonight that I kind of wish I wanted to touch on tonight was high population on corn under irrigation. We'll have to save that for the next live stream. I'm going to write that down actually to make sure that we touch on that for the next live stream. If you guys have any discussion topics that you want me to talk about in the next live stream, comment those down below in this live stream, not in the live chat, but down below in the chat or in the comments. That way I can write those down and talk about those in the next live stream. I'm going to do a community post on that. I just thought of that. I'm going to do a community post also probably after this live stream. And you guys can post all your comments on there also. So not only on this stream, on the comments down below in this stream, not in the live chat, obviously, but in the comments section down below, if you can now, if not after I post it. Or you guys can save it and post it on the community tab. And I'll write those down and I'll kind of go off of those for the next live stream. But one of those things I want to do, yeah, I do have great lungs. My, next day, normally my throat's always hurting a little bit after talking from these live streams. But how far down is the water table? Really, it all depends. To be honest, I would have to remember for sure how deep we go for our wells. But yeah, going back to that, the live streamed topics, post all those and in the comments, either on this stream in the comment section down below, not in the live chat, because I'm not going to go back through the live chat. I hate to say that, but I'm not going to go back through the live chat and hunt for those. So make sure you post those down in comments down below, and I'll go off of those for the next stream. And if you guys, basically I'll write those down and I'll go off of those. But I'm going to write that the high population corn plot down for the next one, because that's actually one that I want to talk with you guys about tonight. But I'm getting tired, and like you said, my lungs are really good. So yeah, so do you still like your Steven Seagal my what? But wait, what? My Steven Seagal I don't even know what you're talking. I have no idea what you're talking about, because I know for 110% sure I do not have any tattoos. So I have no idea what you're even talking about. I don't even think I know a bin lot. I don't even know. I wouldn't have a clue what you're even talking about. Are you going solar? As far as like solar panels and stuff like that, I'd look into that. Yeah, for sure. If there was an incentive program there with our local co-op, but there isn't really right now with our local electric cooperative. Kind of funny me saying that, basically, with my grandpa being the president of the board, but there really is no incentive program there, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be for a few more years at least. But hopefully someday there will be, and Dad and I would love to do it. Put it that way, like take some of our sand fields and do some solar not really solar farms, but solar fields. So, well, I guess I'm going to end it here at that note. And like I said earlier, don't forget to post those in the comment section down below, not in the live chat, but in the comment section down below. Dude, I've never even talked to you. I don't even know what you're even talking about. So anyways, I will end it here. And like I said, post those in the comments section down below, not in the live chat, and down below, and or in the community tab when I post that, probably tonight, if not tomorrow. And I will go off of that for the next live stream. Next live stream probably Sunday. We'll play it by ear though, and I'll let you guys know. And sounds good, Steven. But yeah, so I'll have videos out all this week. Quite a few exciting things coming out this week. Hopefully, the new purchase will be here this week. I won't have a video on it this week just because I'm playing catch up on videos. But I should have that video out next week if it does come this week, which it should, but we'll see. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching as always. Thank you guys for tuning into the stream. Be sure to give it a like as you head out. And if you're not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe. If you guys want if you guys are wanting any Werner Farms merchandise, I will post the link here right now. The link is actually in the description of this video as well. I will post my Snapchat also. So if you guys can't click on that link, the link is down below also. Snapchat links down below, Instagram's links down below, Facebook links down below, so you guys can follow me all on there. But yeah, be sure to order your Werner Farms merchandise if you guys are wanting any of that from that website. And I will catch you guys in the next stream. Thank you guys for watching as always, and next video should be out sometime tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching.